All right. Good morning, Bitcoin. We're back again, hopefully streaming better quality now. We've been trying out Open Broadcaster software, which is, of course, open source, so constantly hit or miss. Right now, we're on the Zoom software that we actually pay money for, so hopefully this is going a little bit better. We don't have as many options or camera angles or any of that nonsense, but we're going to see if this is working. So let us know in the chat, holding up fingers and things, or moving our arms around. We'll see if this is going to work now. So we're joined by Pavel from simplecoin.eu. How's it going, Pavel?
It's been better, but it's not bad.
Little bit of rain, little bit of cold, but that's normal for Prague. A lot of ups and downs in the exchange, right?
Movement was downward, which is not that funny if the coin goes up.
So what do you guys do at Simplecoin?
We simply exchange coins for fiat money or for other coins. We try to do it the simplest way possible, which is getting possible recently because of all the regulations are coming in.
Sure. And what kind of countries can you use Simplecoin in?
Most of the business we do here in Czech Republic with the Czech krona, but we can serve any customer from Europe Union.
Say microphone on. There we go.
That is all right.
That's a trick. They have on-off switches, but yes, go ahead.
So we can serve any customer from SEPA zone who can send euros to us, and from Europe Union, it means we have multiple languages, including German. Recently we added, and next week we will add also Vietnamese.
Excellent. So many languages, many countries, mainly the European market, though, for Simplecoin.
Yeah, right now the most volume comes from the Czech market, but we're trying to expand and hit customers from other countries which are not so friendly and where it's not so easy to buy coins.
And is that what kind of inspired you to take on the kind of breaking banking?
Well, there was some resemblance with my face, but it's definitely random.
So people kept telling you looked like the Breaking Bad guy, and pretty soon you ended up with the hat?
Yeah, okay, I have the hat.
And the hair, yeah. Well, it happened to me too, but I'm not going to take my hat off.
My kids did it too.
Yeah, a lot of stress out there in this world. So do you guys have anything new at Simplecoin? What are you working on at like new features?
We creating new front end, which we will release, I think, also next week. It should be a little more friendly than what we have now, and it should work better on the phones. And then we're trying to come up with the balance system. So we will be kind of holding coins of our customers. We were like reluctant to do it because for all these security risks, but now we're so confident that we can like say we keep the coins safe. We will keep also the fiat money from our customer, and of course we need some licensing for that, which is in progress, and the estimation for the license, it's unknown. It's from 3 months to unknown. So.
It's very difficult, the whole holding coins thing. I know we always say, you tell new Bitcoiners, get into it, but don't hold your money on an exchange. And don't put it in this kind of wallet, and don't put it in that kind of wallet. And pretty soon, like, I'm not getting into that. So it's nice that you're adding that as a feature for new people, so that they just be able to hold their coins there, not have to set up a wallet right away. But of course, advanced users could still withdraw their coins and store them on their own platforms?
Of course, right now we encourage clients to get a hardware wallet, to get the Trezor, keep the coins there, and we do it this way as well. So the rule is simple. You don't trust anyone. There is one key which belongs to one person, and if it's not your key, it's not your coin.
That's right.
But people like things simple, and for a small amount, you would prefer probably to get it in a wallet, so you can in like custodian wallet, so you can trade simpler, faster. You don't need to pay high Bitcoin fees for every trade. So these are all the benefits we're trying to provide for newcomers, so they get the best experience.
Excellent. And where can people try out SimpleCoin?
It's simplecoin.eu. It will choose the language of your location or your browser, or you can switch to, I think, one of 8 languages we have. And you can make orders just on the main page, fill up which coin you want, how much you want to pay for it, and then we need the email address because we need to communicate the state of the order somehow with you, but that's all what we will ask. And we can trade up to 200 euros per 10 days. And if you need more, then the verification must go on because, as I said, the regulators are pushing harder and harder, and then there's no way around it.
Yeah, you really do have to do whatever the regulators say. You have to work with them as an exchange, certainly as a responsible player in this industry.
Yeah,
that's the way to
if
go.
you work with them, you build the relationship. You can at least kind of like guide it in some way. You know, they do take feedback sometimes. So, you know, staying kind of in the line means that your business can survive.
Yes, I can speak for the Czech regulators are not evil, but they have to follow the law, and they have to make sure that we follow the law. And the law is not like perfect, like any other law is not perfect. And it put the restrictions in places where they don't need to be. We actually discussing the update which should come in 2020, and I hope we can somehow make this verification process easier. So, for example, right now the clients need to submit the proof of bank account existence, which is paper which most of the clients don't have, or they have to download some bank transaction listing, which is somehow violating your privacy. My own feeling of privacy is like that I don't need to disclose my transactions with the exchange, but hopefully this will be removed in 2020. So then only documents will be needed, and we will still need a incoming transaction, because if you send money to us, we will see the account number it's coming from together with the name of the account, which is enough to prove it's much better proof than some paper document which you can easily fake. So
and if you're sending it from a bank account, then they've already done KYC AML on one side.
It's true, but that's from our experience, it's also the source of problems, because there are many creative people who found out the ways how to use this remote KYC to create accounts on fake identities or stolen identities, and then use these accounts for trading or for laundering money. And it puts us in very bad position, because we have no idea how to find out if the account is compromised or not.
And I know it's a very difficult line for regulators to walk because they do want there to be businesses. Like you don't want to close all the check exchanges, but like you said, at the same time, they have to follow the laws, and some of the existing laws written for the banking industry might not apply or might not directly apply to crypto, or might even confuse the whole matter. So it's very good that they're working with you and you're having a discussion, and that hopefully, there will be check exchanges, there will be other exchanges, and that they'll profit and continue and serve customers. So
Yeah, the regulators are not our biggest enemy at this moment because it's banks right now, and but it's like derived thing from the regulation. The banks are just becoming very cautious, and they want to avoid problems before they happen, which has changed in the last 3 or 4 years significantly, because a few years ago it took like 10 minutes to open bank account. Nobody was asking questions about what's the business doing, where's the income coming from, what's the biggest partner, showing invoices, tax reports, uh, which is what we have to do today. Like, takes few hours to fill like 20 pages of applications, and even then the bank account will not be open.
it's very difficult, I know, for crypto businesses to have a bank account, and yet it's absolutely vital and essential to running the business.
Yeah, I mean, it's still naive to think that all banks will refuse to serve this cryptocurrency business.
Yeah, yeah.
So now we also see a little change that the volumes, the business still going up. So it's getting interesting for banks as well, because if they say, all right, we are this one new small bank and we have enough courage to go to crypto, then we will propagate this idea to our clients, and within 1 month they will create a few hundreds or thousands of registrations and open accounts in these banks. So that's a very interesting way for banks to expand their client base.
Do you currently list any privacy coins on the exchange, so like Monero, Zcash?
We don't have Monero. We are thinking about it. We have Zcash, but we don't do the confidential transactions.
Yeah.
Most likely because it's difficult to implement. It's much easier to do the classical transactions where we can see the transaction ID, the amount which was paid to which account, and that's much easier for business.
Yeah.
With these confidential transactions, it's really difficult to automatically pair incoming payments.
And also, I think there seems to be a bit of an exchange cull. There's a few exchanges that have announced they're delisting their privacy coins. So
it is also area. Because of banking, because we talked to some payment providers and they said, like, we may work with you if you pay us these horrible fees and remove Zcash.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't like competition, right?
I think the regulators understand, or they may see the benefit of the Bitcoin because it's even better trackable in some cases than classic bank transactions. With companies like Chain Analysis making that really easy. And so then they're thinking like, okay, it might be like nice way of, control people and business and money. And the privacy coins are still like threat to, they cannot be really tracked. So, so then, okay, the regulators are not stupid.
And that's the interesting thing, that there's always an air of like confusion over the privacy level of Bitcoin. And although it's pseudo anonymous, it's not anonymous. So regulators, if they were clever, not saying you're not, by the way, please don't ban Bitcoin. But if they were clever about it, they could create a system where tax is made much easier for them. But instead, they're fighting it, and
they are doing it as we speak. There is a lot of discussion going about so-called travel rule, and that would enforce us, like exchange and every other big exchange, to create an IPA interface for these regulators, for authorized people, which would connect incoming and outgoing transactions with the client. So then it would be really easy, because you could track the client saying you send money to Bitstamp, you bought Bitcoin, you send the Bitcoin to Poloniex, and then you bought Monero, and okay, in these amounts, and then okay, the Monero would be lost. But if it's not privacy coin, like if it's any other easily trackable coin like Ethereum or Ripple, which okay, it's not even using different accounts for transactions, so you have one account, it's like everybody can see all your business history. So then it would be really easy to find out what you're doing, when you're doing it, and that's all right. That's probably showstopper for most of even common users. Will not be using these coins if everybody can see how much money you have on your account.
That's probably how we should have tried to sell Bitcoin in the first place. You can track everything. The banks will love it.
Yeah.
Because it is very trackable, but it is also pseudo-anonymous if you use it the right way, or if you bounce in and out of coins or out of exchanges or whatever, or buy it with cash. There's all kinds of options, but it is getting harder and harder to do that.
It's trackable, but the other aspect is it's not possible to be confiscated. That's like it's always up to you to give it over.
Yeah.
And you can track where it is by an address, but you can't tell whether the person has access to it. And things like it's going to make things like, I don't know, like divorces very difficult, because if someone's saying that someone has got more, X amount of Bitcoin, and you can't prove that you don't have that, so it's going to make the situation very interesting.
Yeah, there has been some ridiculous ruling of judges saying like, we think like the Satoshi Nakamoto was like saying, I'm Satoshi, so then you should own like 1 million of Bitcoin, so therefore you should pay like 200,000 of Bitcoin as a tax. So come and pay. So, that's something like this. The judge can say that.
Yeah.
But he can't take these 200 Bitcoins, especially if you don't own them.
Yeah.
Previously, the FBI could just call up the bank and they would freeze your account. And it doesn't mean anything. It's not cold or anything. They just freeze it. But with Bitcoin, it's not the same thing. They can't freeze it. Even if they have it in their possession in a wallet that they created, they have the private key. All it takes is one of their employees to see that private key, or it to be mismanaged or something, and then pretty soon all that money's gone. You didn't confiscate it at all. You couldn't freeze it.
Yes, we actually did a training for judges and prosecutors. Okay, it was like 20 rather older people coming to the class, and then for 5 hours I was explaining how the blockchain is working, what's the private public key, and and some people after this will just ask this simple question, all right, so but if I want to confiscate the coin, how do I do it? I was like, all right, you need to, raid the guy's home, take all his notebooks, go over all these tiny papers and try to look for 12 words.
There it is. Good luck with that, especially with people with lots of journals and lots of papers and lots of things. But it's in there somewhere. And the same thing, if you're on the computer, you can search for those strings of numbers and letters, certain lengths. You can search for other things like that. So it is, even if you think you have security by obscurity, it still could be identifiable in there.
It can, and the police knows it already, and they do it. They actually managed to confiscate for about 100 Bitcoins from a guy who looked to be happy until they really found this seed and they moved it into cold storage, and then he was like trying to negotiate it that he wants the coins back. It wasn't like okay for the coins to be sold.
Yeah.
And then he would get the money back because it was the bad time for
Sure.
selling it.
Was it Bulgaria where they auctioned the coins? I think it was last year. They auctioned a load of stolen coins and cleared a huge amount of national debt.
I don't know. I didn't heard about that one. I heard that Venezuela has a lot of coins. They don't know how to sell them now.
That's a big problem. People don't even want the bills from Venezuela. I can only imagine the coins.
But the coins, like I could trade them. Like it's the same transaction. It's the nice thing about Bitcoin. Like the transaction would go through from Venezuela the same way, like from North Korea or North America. Like it's the nice thing about the coin that is not political. Money should not be political. That's the risk I see about all these banking regulations, that it also becomes political. So, for example, I have a friend who is actually trading a gravel from Belarus to Poland. He never touched any coin business before or not after. He just needs to send money from Poland to Belarus to pay for this gravel. And he has really hard time to find a bank who would do USD dollar transactions for him between, this post-Soviet republic, because now everybody is like scared because of the sanction list, which is another like thing. Like we have a big sanction list with tens of thousands names on it, and we have to put we have to check every transaction, every client against this. And okay, maybe the guy is not on the sanction list, but maybe his brother or his wife is, and then how can we tell? We can't, like, nobody can tell, but eventually the bank can get a fine for serving families on the sanction list.
Even with the best intentions, the regulations can be very difficult to keep up with. Well, thanks so much, Pavel. And just one more time for the people at home, where can they try out Simple Coin?
Yeah, come to our place. We have nice blue candies.
They have a fantastic booth. If you check out the Mad Bitcoin's Twitter, I put up a picture. They've got blue. It's not meth. Blue. There's a chemistry set. There's beakers and science and T-shirts and everything. So check out Simple Coin and simplecoin.eu. Try it out here in Czech and in the rest of Europe. Very cool. Yep. Thanks so much, Pavel, for the interview.
Thank you for you.
Awesome. Cheers.
All right. Thank you, man. All right. Let's go ahead.
Stay tuned. I think we've got
Paul Crypto Hippie outside, so he's going to come in next. And thanks so much. And be sure to get yourself a Twitter account for Simple Coin. I want to see you guys on Twitter soon.
Yeah.
So. Oh, I know. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers. Take care. Is that smuggler as well? I see.
Maybe so. We'll have to see. It's tough to tell. Oh, yep. Close it. Come on in. All right. So we've got the internet working now. Of course, no one's watching us because we called Wolf a couple of times. Said we had a cool live stream, but it turned out we might not have. So if you're watching us out there, give us a thumbs up and a share. It looks like it's working really good. Here, Dan, put that over there. Now let's make sure I turn that off.
Okay.
Well, off is good, but we need to make sure if someone comes in that we turn it back on. So now we're joined by Paul, Crypto Hippie. I know previously you were telling us about your VPN service. A couple of years ago, we talked about CRISPR gene editing.
Yes,
but what are you working on now, Paul? What's going on?
Oh my! Well, I'm doing a lot of writing at Freeman's Perspective.
Cool.
Managing Crypto Hippie.
Still is having the VPN service. Now, you are an independent VPN service. A lot of people, they trust larger VPN service, but there could be a problem there. You're probably putting your data in with a bunch of other bad data. And if somebody came along and bought all that bad data, boy, that would be bad for you and everyone else,
It's
right?
worse than having, in some ways, it's worse than having no service at all if the people you're trusting are reselling your data. And the truth is, if you're going for a cheap service
Or free,
or God forbid, free,
which is very popular buzzword these days.
you know, it's just ridiculous because nobody can run a service for free. You can't. I mean, I know. I see
you really do.
bills.
You get what you pay for. I mean, we were sweating it out here with Open Broadcaster, great open source software project, about a zillion settings. We set about 999 of them correctly, but not the rest of them. Then here we switched over to Zoom, where we're paying $15 a month. You know, a small fortune eventually at the end of the year, but now it seems like it's working because we're paying.
Well,
So,
you've got people who it's their job to make sure it works.
That's right.
And, you know, with VPNs, first of all, you need quality. Either that or, I mean, if you just want to watch Hulu, okay, fine.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
you know,
If you just want to watch
not-
the BBC player, you need to be in England. You want to get your rugby updates.
Right. So, but if you want if you want actual privacy, you need multiple hops. You need, you know, all kinds of stuff. Your VPN should have its own key server. So, because we know for a fact that these have been compromised. The Snowden documents, and this was 2013 or 2012. I don't remember what the document date was, but they've all been blown through. You have to run your own key infrastructure. You should be managing your own DNS. All these things take money.
Yep.
You know, they're not easy. Even if you could find competent people to do it, which is a first step.
That's it. Yeah, it's also about the complexity and the skill level involved. You know,
Yeah.
to be really sure that you are protected and your privacy is protected. You need to know all of the areas to know where the holes are, to know that you filled them. So it's not just the money side; it's the whole complexity.
Right, because the people who are trying to blow through your privacy are skilled and they have money. I mean,
and they're also being paid.
Yeah.
Yes, and they are also being paid.
All the spies, all the buildings full of Russian agents or whatever it is, all collecting paychecks, working 9 to 5s, hacking your privacy. You might not care about your privacy very much. You spent 15 minutes on it. They'll spend 8 hours breaking it.
That's right. Exactly right. So you have to have people that are committed to it, you have skill, and you know we have to pay our bills. You know, I cannot sell a VPN for $5 a month. You can if you sell really poor quality. You get a real cheap server somewhere and just do an in and out, and then you put up an ad and says, I have 500 servers in 423 districts, and we have, 2.6 million users, and you can put anything up on a website.
Sure.
And I think some do. I don't really know. But you can do anything like that, but to run an actual service that really does it, it's hard. It's a job.
Yeah.
What we do it.
Have you heard about Brave Browser? Brave Browser is launching some kind of a VPN or a VPN infrastructure, maybe even. Is that interesting to you, or just another flash in the pan? Yeah?
I don't know. I haven't had the time to look into all the details of the new thing. The Brave Browser is quite a good browser. It does a good job.
Built-in Tor as well.
It does a good job. Tor is not. People trust Tor too much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was some years ago now, but around the time of the Ross Ulbricht thing, the number of Tor nodes doubled in a month. So guess who's running the Tor
Snooping
nodes?
the exit nodes.
Yeah. And so they got snippers, and they got some way of doing sideways something or another.
Well, it always seemed bad that Tor was created by the Navy. I know it's great. It's great to say it. Sure, we're using the internet here, and the internet was a ARPA project, all those things.
Right.
But yeah, it just always gave me the little bit of the creeps. They're like, let's use this cool multi-hop software, all this stuff. I'm like, it's really slow, but I feel secure. Right. But then, there's that little Navy thread hanging out there.
Yeah, it is kind of a little bit of a, pay attention to me.
But it is open source though, right, Tor?
I believe so.
It is,
so everyone can see the
open source
code.
is just as good as how many programmers you have monitoring the source.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Many hands and many trust.
That's true.
So,
right. Yeah. It's a lot to analyze.
Yeah.
But and there are ways to use Tor properly. Ask Smuggler; he can tell you the details. But there's one way to do it, but you have to be a real competent network administrator to do it. And if you're not, you maybe make it worse.
Yeah.
Well, and, we've all seen the Snowden documentary or maybe the Oliver Stone film. And first thing he has the journalists do is put their phones in the Faraday cage, then they put them in the freezer. It's not enough to turn it off. It's not enough to cover it up or put it under your bag or whatever. You got to get rid of that thing. And even recently he was talking about his phone and how he took the microphone out and he took this out and that out. And we were talking to Peter Todd yesterday and he was like, did you know you can use an accelerometer as a microphone? Did Snowden take that out? Did he take this out? There's all these things that could be dual function, dual use. Actually having that privacy is a very difficult thing to actually have.
I use a 1990s flip phone. Nice. Well, it does what I need.
Yeah.
I don't really care about having an app for Chinese food. I've got a telephone.
Yeah.
And if I want to order Chinese food, I'll order Chinese food. I don't need to, do all the other things.
I'm at a certain point, I'm not sure if other people need to either, or if they're just addicted to it. I mean, I know I'm pretty much addicted to Twitter now. I'm checking it all the time. I've got the stats on it, which only hasn't quit. I haven't quit, but it makes it worse because now I know exactly how much time I'm wasting.
Well,
and the university degree in Twitter I could have gotten, but
you probably can't you?
It's never too late. I can start mailing in my 12 hours a day I've been spending on Twitter and get credit from Jack.
Well, one of the things that I've done for years, I'm a writer. And so I don't want to be interrupted. I do. And I don't want to be interrupted anyway.
Yeah.
Because, thinking in pieces this long, you just can't think very deeply. And, you want to think in big, long chunks. So what I did is I scooted everybody who, this is back in the 90s when people really started using email. But I scooted everybody from telephone to email because email never interrupts me. I don't put a noise on it,
Yeah.
It never interrupts me. I may check it 5-10 times a day, but it's the times when I'm ready to check it and it doesn't interrupt me.
I saw a great description recently where someone went back and they used an old 486 computer. And they're like, I loaded up the word processor program and it was amazing. There was nothing to distract me. I couldn't check my email, no sports scores, no nothing, just word processor. And everything else turned off. And you can get there. You can go full screen with your Mac and stuff, and you can get that software that blocks you from the internet. But I know how to turn that off because I'm the one that installed it. So that never works. Screen time, it was like, you're past your limit. And I'm like, oh, yeah? And that was over with that. And again, if you're going to give someone else control over your software and you have to negotiate with your IT department to get back in, I just wouldn't give them control in the first place. So
here you go.
But yeah, it was amazing to think back how a distraction-free computer used to be what we all had.
Right. And I keep mine that way because I just, I just, one of the email programs I had would put up a notice. Oh, you just got an email from.
Oh, yeah.
I turned it off. I don't want, because I'll check it,
I know,
multiple times a day, but I do not want to be interrupted by it. I want to do my stuff and think till I'm done thinking, or write till I'm done writing, or whatever it is.
And what have you been writing about recently?
Oh boy. I just wrote a book that I probably has been building for decades. And it's called Discourses. This is really philosophical. Discourses on Judaism, Jesus, and Christianity.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Historically or religion-wise, what kind of aspect are you
More
taking?
historical, I suppose, but really, it's a really interesting field to discover what did actually Jesus teach, and where did it come from? Nobody knows this, but the Jews were they broke off from the religion of the Sumerians.
Yes. Yeah.
And nobody really understands that. And so that's interesting. And following the Jewish or Hebrew, and then I mean, what's the difference between the Hebrews and Jews? Well, the name changes at about 500 BC. Okay, well, same guys.
Yeah.
But the history is a very, very fascinating one. There's a lot of things in there you would not expect. And then dealing with Jesus and what did he actually say? How do we know what he actually taught? And one of the big moments for me that really made me write this book now was that realizing that Christianity is not the religion of Jesus, it's a religion about Jesus. And I've known that for years, but just putting it in those words really kind of spurred it for me that I
Well,
had to
he
do this.
wasn't really the one that started the church. That kind of started after him.
Well, yeah,
in the
depending
books
how
and
you
such.
think about it. And there were in the beginning there were many churches. You know, the Catholic Church was just one of many for a long, long time. And there's all sorts of other things that feed into it. Early Europe and how it formed and everything. It's just
I do agree with you on the Sumerian and the early roots. A
Yeah.
lot of these stories were told over and over again. The story about the flood, the story about sending the son off, the prodigal son comes back. A lot of these, and what I like about these stories is the moral and the message. It's still there. We can still get it in a different language, different system. Change the name to Noah. Whatever you got to do. We're still talking about the lesson. It's a lesson. It's an educational
what the thing
thing.
that really got me with on the Sumerian Hebrew connection. And I was reading whatever the history, Samuel Noah Kramer and the other Assyriologists they used to call them. There's this thing in the Old Testament, you've seen it, where if somebody was guilty of a capital crime, death by stoning.
Yep.
And I always thought there's something more to this that doesn't show up in the book, because these people had to have some reason why stoning. Why not? There's 10 other ways to kill folks.
Sure.
Yeah. Why stoning? And I always wondered about that, because it's not in the book. It's like everybody knows the reason, and they just assume that everybody knows the reason, so why bother writing it? I found it from the Sumerians. I was reading, I think it was either Kramer or Stephen Langton, one of the guys who really did the real, spent years reading cuneiforms.
Sure.
The Sumerians would take a stone, and they would write on the stone the name of your crime. They would write murder or whatever it is on the stone. And so symbolically, you were being killed with your own crime. It's like, that makes sense.
That does make more sense.
That makes sense. And I got it from the Sumerians. So for all the other pieces that I had, and you can trace them historically, they went from here to there and how they did. And the names, there's a great place. There was an archive they found at a city called Ibla. And all the names are Hebrew names, and they're all shared all kinds of, they even got parts that ended up in the Bible, that almost the same exact verse is in the archives of Ibla, which is 2200 BC. And
and wasn't there am I right in thinking that there's a kind of Jesus-like figure in the Sumerian religion that was like 12 he had like 12 friends, and he was born on
I'm not that I'm aware of. There wasn't that type of thing, although there have always been, figures.
The Messiah, that idea, a lot of
the
chosen ones.
The funny thing about the Messiah thing, it appears almost nowhere in the Old Testament. Almost not at all. I think there's just one or two things, and when it's usually used, it's a Messiah, somebody who was sent to do a particular job. But this idea of the Messiah doesn't really, just you can interpret a few little things, but it just barely exists. And it's one of the other little funny little things you see over time.
I read Richard Carrier's on the historicity of Jesus, and that's really interesting.
I've never read it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It literally, he looks at all the kind of philosophers at the time, what they were saying, and he tries to put together a picture of what was Jesus a single person? And there's evidence for, there's evidence against, but it's a very, I definitely recommend that book.
Yeah, it's interesting to find the various pieces you can find of evidence. Pretty much nobody who studies in length questions that there was an actual person, Jesus, who died in roughly 30 AD. Everybody fights about the dates.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a 200-year gap before they start writing about it. So that seems
no, there's not.
It's not?
No,
Is it
not
closer
at all.
than that?
Not at all. First of all, we have letters from the 50s AD, so 20 years afterwards.
Good.
We have things that were, those are, they were written in 51, 52 AD.
Yeah.
So we have that for sure. And we have historical accounts from Romans and from 110. There's a guy named Pliny the Younger, and he's in this little area of what's now Turkey. and he's writing to Trajan saying, how do I deal with these people? And it's great because he tells what they believe and what they do. It's a thank God we got that little piece.
What a great letter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
you can find it on the internet.
Yeah.
It's out there, and it's his letter to Trajan and Trajan's response. It's all there.
Wow.
It's freaking awesome that we even have it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned stoning. I'm reading this really interesting book now called Fail or Doge in Hell, and it's by Neil Stephenson. He's written a lot of books, Seven Eves and Snow Crash, stuff like that. Cryptonomicon, of course. Yeah, Diamond Age. Diamond Age. But this one, I'll give you a little bit of it first. So there's a little bit about a computer guy that dies and what they're going to do with his brain because he's into life extension. So that's part of it. Then there's a little bit about a fantastic internet hoax that the town of Moab, Utah has been destroyed by a nuclear bomb.
Oh my.
And the guy goes there and he's like, it's not happening. It's fake. But then there's this kind of schism in reality where a bunch of people believe that it was nuked and they stick with that. Right. Then there's an attempt to destroy the internet by overloading it with false information so that when people would switch to a trusted internet, the kind of thing we talk about with blockchains and crypto and these things, only it backfires. It turns out that now there is no reality and all kinds of people have no reality and you have to pay an editor to edit your internet stream in and out. And if you have a better editor, you have a better truth. And if you don't, you have no truth. You have no information. And so the world kind of, there's this America stan where it's become very religious and a little backwards in some ways. But one of the little tidbits about that he just revealed that he's like, they'll shoot you now because they've decided that bullets equals stones. So shooting is the new stoning. Okay. And they're totally fine with it. And they're like, well, how can you, they're like, they don't like technology. They don't build the guns themselves. They buy them, all these things, but they're like, these are now holy weapons. They're holy stones that you're stoning with. So just a little bit more onto the stoning idea.
Back to Jesus, whoever kills you will think he's doing God's service.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that is the problem with all religious
That's a cool story.
Yeah. And I have no idea how the book's going to turn out. They did a little tour through America Stan, and there's a lot of little religious tidbits about what the people believe, but mainly it's this schism of this Moab, whether it exists or it doesn't exist. Right. And in a way, it has a little bit of tinge of 9/11 in there, if you want to get into that. But no, it's a really good and interesing book. So
I've been working on a couple of stories. One of them has been published already. It's called Return Engagements. And it's a way, and it's scientifically not crazy to where I and I'm a character in the story actually. I jump back in time.
Okay.
And the first one, I'm back in 1963. And this is actually, I wouldn't say it's scientifically correct because time travel is not possible so far as we know. But it's an alternate special way of doing it that doesn't violate the laws of physics. Right. At least so far as I understand them. Nobody really understands them all the way. But it was a lot of fun like that, back in and I have another one that I'm working on now back in 1978. And and if you fix up 1963 or 1978, if you do a good enough job, then our present time gets a little boost, a little shot of benefit. So it's fun.
It's a lot of good ideas out there in time travel, and just the idea you're really just kind of taking apart history and write a little what if, a little variation.
Yeah,
I was talking this morning about the movie Yesterday. The Beatles. It's a relatively new movie, and I wish that it was better than it is. The trailer is fantastic. It's full of possibilities. It's kind of a Philip K. Dick idea, like everything these days. But this guy has a bicycle accident and he wakes up and he's in a world where no one remembers the Beatles. So there are no Beatles. And he happens to be a musician. So he's got a guitar and he can sing and he remembers. And so he starts remembering all the Beatles songs and he starts playing for people and they go crazy because they've never heard the Beatles. And these are fantastic songs. Yeah. So, and then it kind of drifts off and it's just a romance and there's no conspiracy and there's nothing interesting. I wrote the guy today. I was like, this movie could have been so much better. He's like, how? And then I nailed him with it. I was like, well, I got two for you. One, at the end, he wakes up, he was in a coma, and he realizes that fame is worthless and he should date and marry this teacher girl that he likes. Right. And he learns a lesson. And that would have been great. Like simple, it's still a romance, easy. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that one because that was right there. And then if you really want to get into it, there's 2 other people in the movie who also remember the Beatles. And they're kind of creepy because they're kind of sneaking around. He's always worried he's going to be found out, or Paul's going to show up, or John's going to show up. He's like, oh my God. But you have these 2 people be Russian spies. The Russian developed some kind of time weapon because Coca-Cola also doesn't exist. So I was like, wipe out the Beatles, wipe out Coca-Cola, Russian time weapon. They're chasing this guy. It's a chase. It's a thriller. And then at the end, this American cowboy spy comes in. He's been watching the whole thing. He saves the day. It all wraps up in a balloon. It's perfect. Puts on his white hat. And he talks with a Southern accent. The whole thing. It could have just been the funnest movie, but instead it's just kind of a basic Beatles
the little
movie.
thing that I thought of, and this is really arcane Beatles stuff.
Yeah.
But they should have found, and somewhere in the movie, there should have been some guy with a guitar making the chords for Yesterday, singing scrambled eggs. You know the story behind that?
Sure. Paul woke up and that's all he could think.
Right. That's the only thing he could put onto the song was scrambled eggs. So then the guys used to say, hey, Paul, what about scrambled eggs? You got anything more? No, not yet, man. Okay, well, work on scrambled eggs.
Well, the best part, too, is that he went around to everyone else and he was like, did I hear this? I didn't write this. This is so good. I must have accidentally stolen it. It happens all the time.
It does.
Robin Williams, all these other people, you steal a joke, you steal an idea, it gets to a bigger joke, bigger idea. But no, he couldn't find anyone, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I wrote it." In the nighttime, amazing. But
because I'm something of a musician when I actually have time, and I've done things. Oh, this is really good. Is that? Did I hear that somewhere?
Yeah,
that's like a classical piece.
That's what I feel. Yeah.
Being so excited about a riff, and then showing my friend and said that, and he's played it back.
Right. You're playing Stardust, man.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, I should probably go, and we should probably get him in here.
All right. Well, very cool. And where can people check out Crypto Hippie, the VPN service that you get what you pay for?
CryptoHippie.com.
All right.
And actually, here's
privacy first, people.
And then here's select.cryptohippie.com, which is the new service, which is freaking awesome. iPad, iPod, whatever. And it works on other things as well.
Android?
And it'll work on Android too.
Nice.
It does all the setup for you. And not only excellent VPN, but encrypted anonymous email.
Wow.
Right through the iPad on the mail app.
Brilliant.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. And people should check that out at cryptohippie.com.
Yep. Please.
All right. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thanks
for
for
joining
joining
us. Interesting topics. Yeah.
My pleasure, guys.
All right. We're going to go ahead and bring in the next guest. Seems like the video stream's going good now. If everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share, we could get more people to watch this. Maybe give us some retweets as well. Get on out there on the Twitter machines and such. And here is our next guest. Come on down.
Hello, Smuggler.
All right. The man in the mask. Either one, either here or there. All right. Let's just turn on that mic for sure. It's got an on switch. And it's the major key. It has to be on to work.
1 2 1 2.
All right. So Smuggler, our 3rd year in a row here. The man in the mask. I remember a couple of years ago we talked about, it might not give you perfect privacy, but it's a symbol that we should have privacy. We should have this option. This is even coming back into the media recently. Hong Kong's having a major mask problem, and it's getting worse. The police are actually tracking and looking for people with masks. There's a possibility they might make masks illegal, which I've heard might have led to a revolution in Ukraine or maybe another country. I might be getting it wrong. But how are things going with the mask and with the idea of privacy?
Well, I think that the idea of privacy is becoming a little bit more fashionable the last years.
Yes.
Without fashion becoming more privacy aware, but that's a different issue. I kind of like the masks being banned in Hong Kong thing, not because of the banning, but it just shows that the technology works, So why ban it if it wouldn't be effective,
Yeah.
So people, let's be in solidarity with the people in Hong Kong and wear masks everywhere all the time.
And it would change things because we're going to have more and more problems with facial recognition, more and more cameras everywhere, smaller and smaller cameras.
Yes, everywhere.
I think France is recently, in the last couple of days, actually said they're rolling out a nationwide visual identity service.
Yeah, though they claim that it's only done on your mobile phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Like
sending around biometric.
Apple puts my fingerprint into the lockbox and it stays there on the phone
forever.
I hope
forever.
So.
Exactly.
Forever would be Well, forever is one problem, but sending it to the home server is another problem. So we have problems on both of those ends. And yeah, we're having the same thing in the United States. They're testing out facial recognition at the Las Vegas airport. A lovely old couple in front of me said, "Oh, darling, let's do it. Oh, now we're set. We don't have to have any trouble at the airport." And I was like, oh my God, I just walked away. I didn't say anything, of course, because you wouldn't say anything at the airport. But
yeah, in Europe, we have those cattle gates now.
Yeah,
You know, it's completely automatic border control.
Yep.
You walk through a line, you know, you present your passport to a computer. The computer looks at you, it says, "Yeah, you're okay," you know, and lets you through, you know. And what does a cattle do? It goes through those lines, you know, so.
And with with masks, you're avoiding facial recognition. Do you see it's a problem that as the technology evolves, they can find other ways of fingerprinting you from a distance, like the way you walk or something like that?
Yeah, of course, there are more biometric attack vectors than just the face. The face is just the most widely spread thing. The second most widely spread is your fingers, which is why I never show my fingers into a camera from the other side. So
that reminds me of an interesting little throwaway line from Enemy of the State, a great surveillance type movie with Gene Hackman and Will Smith. And there's one point where they're watching everyone on the satellite, and they're like, "That guy never looks up." And they're mad at him because if he just looked up at the sun or whatever, boom, they got him.
Yeah.
And he's
but
trained.
People with neck issues, you know, they can't look up if they want to.
Yeah.
You know?
They're harder to track, those neck issues.
Exactly.
Develop a better system.
Yeah. I had these issues forever. Sure. So, but there's of course gait analysis. However, gait analysis is great if you know whom to look for. It's not that great if you have a very large database of people and you have to select from them. And it's relatively easy to defeat if you're a woman and Muslim. So the niqab and the long gown, gown help a lot. And I think that skirts for men are in the future. And then what I personally hate most is heartbeat fingerprinting from a distance.
Oh,
so from a distance, yeah. There's a thing that has been tested for a few years in Mexico, and it has been published, I think, last year or this year even. That it's basically a laser-based system that measures the movement of your skin and of your chest, and deducts the heartbeat from that.
Wow.
And the heartbeat is actually very unique. Like there's like a complexity to the heartbeat.
Yeah,
I'm not a cardiologist. I don't know the details.
Well, you'd have to be a yogi to change your heartbeat, or to really get into that at all. And no one has that training here. I mean,
exactly. So it works from like 150 meters away.
Wow.
And you don't even see it because it's just this little, infrared laser beam, touching you inappropriately, And I mean, there are of course countermeasures to it, but it gets more complicated and complicated. And in a way, I have to say, without condoning it, that those Hong Kong dudes and dudettes, of course,
sure.
They have my sympathy for accidentally tearing down those technology towers. I mean, wish that would happen by accident much more here.
Another technology I saw that fascinated me and worried me at the same time was being able to detect what people are saying through micro vibrations from a huge distance. And that's whoa! That just made me mind blown. Wow, this is getting scary. Through all sorts of barriers, not just lip reading. That's insane.
It's funny because that technology has been around forever. Actually, it's the famous laser microphone that they put against your window to listen into your apartment.
Sure.
It's basically the same thing. And by now, a lot of this shit is becoming so cheap and so precise. The sensors are getting, the electronics and sensors and whatever are getting so much cheaper and smaller. But the other thing is, all this AI whatever stuff, helps so much in taking out the noise.
Previously unmanageable mountains of data. Oh, we can't do that. It's an encyclopedia. It's 5 encyclopedias. Yes. Now the computer can go through and it can find that needle in the haystack
but
no problem.
Yeah, it's not just the volume of data, but it's also differentiated between signal and noise, and like reducing noise with artificial intelligence, like machine learning, neural networks, whatever, whatever it's called today, blockchain. No, it's becoming so much better. It's kind of scary, you know. In the past, there were so many things you couldn't filter out. You know, you couldn't filter out the signal or the noise. And today, you know, you have this TensorFlow, whatever shit that oh yeah, this is his voice. Let's see what he's saying. You know, and then array microphones and all that stuff. I mean, there are billions flowing into surveillance technology, and they're really creative.
Well, and people at home think it's no problem because they have nothing to hide, but they're not thinking about it all the way to the end where they're tracking and monitoring and tracking and monitoring. And then everyone has something. And then also there's something about having privacy that makes you a human. I remember in 1984, the book, Winston has a giant television in his room, but there's kind of a niche in the corner where he can hide and he can write and he can be alone. And this is part of his respite from being watched and being judged by his neighbors and going to the 3 minutes hate. And just, he knows he's watched everywhere, but he has this little corner. And of course,
even that was fake, you know?
Yeah, even that was fake. I know, even that was fake. But still, I hope that for us and for the normal people and for everyone, that there will be that secret corner, or at least we'll remember this idea and want it again and fight for it and get it back. Since, like you were saying earlier, privacy is more popular. People are using encryption, end-to-end encryption. But then on the other side too, Facebook, WhatsApp, they're rolling back the end-to-end encryption. The government is asking for backdoors, even publicly sometimes. I saw something recently that Facebook and Google will now officially be sharing data with the government for the first time ever. And I'm sure they did it before, but now officially. So I don't know what that's going to do.
Well, cross-border sharing is the new thing. So the US Cloud Act and its European sister of hell is what's really scary, because the whole jurisdictional arbitrage game is going to be destroyed by those new international agreements. So it's crypto or die by now, you know. So you can't trust on location anymore. Coming back to the privacy question, I think you're right, of course, that privacy is part of what makes us human and allows us to develop and to be ourselves, so to speak. And it's insanely important. I mean, just imagine you really have no privacy. That means you have to conform to the will of the masses all the time, you know, and I'm pretty sure the will of the masses doesn't go well most of the time, you know. So, I mean,
and it also, you might disagree with it. You might want to sing your own song. You might want to dance on your own or whatever. And none of that anymore, ever. Not at home, you know. You run around naked at home. You live out in the world. No, you sing your songs at home. You dance. You do your art, whatever you want to do. It's very private to you. Now we're all watching it.
And imagine all those people singing in the shower, and that's live streamed now.
Spotify,
you know, fuck that. You know, no.
It's shower streams. I listen because it's fun, and I like to laugh at these idiots in the shower.
Probably a business idea right now. But exactly.
But maybe the reason why people are the wider public and the wider world are kind of okay with privacy being breached, and this is something I've not thought about before, is because for many people are religious, and the idea they already grew up with the idea that God is watching them all the time.
You mean Santa Claus with his good and bad list and naughty and nice?
I disagree. I completely disagree, because I grew up religious as well, and I still am religious. And I'm pro-privacy because of my religion. That's a huge part of it, you know. And there's a huge difference between the US government or any other government and God. You know, the one is like a bunch of fuckers, and the other one is somebody we at least assume likes us. You know, that's a huge difference.
It's also fallible or infallible. Any system made by man can have cracks, whereas maybe a more natural or religious system would be more perfect.
I thought Donald Trump loved everyone.
And God doesn't have the tendency to come down, you know, and post my shit on Twitter. You know, so
there's a couple of accounts claiming that, but they're just claiming it.
But it's infrequent enough to be not a huge threat. Okay,
he only comes down every once in a while.
Flood
last time, fire next time.
Exactly. at least you know what's happening then. You know, it's like pretty final then.
Yeah. Well, we're even seeing the privacy topic move into the political sphere. I know the president of the United States is having a lot of problems with his phone calls.
Yeah.
He's releasing some of them. Whistleblowers heard other ones. And it seems like the ability to privately commit crimes for even the president is going away.
Yeah, that's troubling. I mean,
it's interesting which side you want to be on it, right? Because at one side, certainly, if he's committing crimes in that office, I want him stopped. On the other side, maybe he should have the privacy to commit the crimes. Yeah,
there's a question of the. I mean, let's just make sure that the office doesn't exist, you know. But I'm kind of disappointed by the NSA because they have a defensive mission as well.
Yeah,
and they're kind of failing when it comes to Trump and a lot of other people.
As well as Brexit, it does seem like one side of the game is playing at a much higher level, winning victory after victory, and the other side just can't seem to get it together. Because if we were attacked and all these things, if the people really found out and they understood about what the attacks were and how complicated they were, you think there'd be a response, and then that would be a reason not to attack anyone like that anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas sadly, we're seeing more of it's open season.
Yes, it is,
and that's terrifying.
I saw a great meme this morning, which was it was imagine if you woke up and the people who get upset about their team losing got that upset about the government being corrupt.
I know, thinking, dude.
Yeah. Ralph Nader's been saying that for years, and so, people memorize sports statistics and follow their teams, and he wishes they would do the same for their politics or even their financial health. A lot of people that are in the lower systems, lower classes or whatever, they want to keep it clean for the rich, because in America we have this dream that one day I'll be rich, so we need to keep those rules nice and loose. But the sad reality is that we might not be rich. We might be better off if we tightened up those rules and made them pay their fair share and these kind of things.
I don't think that there's a fair share in being robbed. You know, just make sure that everybody is robbed equally, and the percentage should be 0.
Sounds like Jesus here. Everyone should be robbed equally. Maybe not though, right? Yeah. So, what are you guys working on? Are you working on anything new? Tell the people about, or?
Oh well, nothing new so much. So. Yes, last year has been kind of hectic. We've done a lot at the Berlin Container TAZ. Lots of new members and meetups and building stuff and whatever. So that was very hectic. Lots of work for Crypto Hippie. Also got involved in a new long-term project that is going to probably keep me occupied for the rest of my life.
That's a good thing or a bad thing?
That I guess remains to be seen. I hope it's a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully will.
So there's so much work recently. I mean, that's the result of so much work. You know.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I think that there are quite a few nice things coming over the next 1 to 2 years, at least in my camp, and. Did a lot of research this year as well. Got back to my roots a little bit when it comes to pre-blockchain digital currencies and payment systems. Actually gonna give a talk about that today. Actually, what time is it?
It's 4:25.
Okay, I'm going to give a talk in 1.5 hours about that. So let's see how that goes.
Excellent.
So that's been my year.
And just going back to you mentioned about the rolling back of the encrypted services. Do you see that as a threat to Crypto Hippie and other VPN services? Because if they're going after Facebook and these other services, then what's to say they're not going to go after a VPN service?
They most certainly will go after VPN services. We're under no illusion that it's a piece of cake what we do. I think a lot of providers in the field are a little bit cocky, and say, nothing will happen to us and whatever. But from day one, we had a multi-jurisdictional, multi-organization setup, because of if we are running into troubles with one side, we wouldn't undermine the privacy of our clients. So we have like 3 jurisdictions that you have to synchronize before you have any access to the data, you know. So, and that is, I mean, it's in a way, it's not a real complete solution, of course, but it's us trying to stay both legal and protect the privacy of our clients without having to do any compromises. However, if the future goes really sour, we will have to consider becoming a little bit less legal.
Whatever
I
it
guess.
Well,
I mean, I'm
think-
not looking forward to that. I'm kind of always tried to stay on the up and up, mostly kindish. So, because, you know, as a company, there are a lot of people involved, you know,
Sure.
there are families behind it and all that stuff, you know, you have responsibilities. And I had the SWAT team, because of the company, I had the SWAT team in my house once.
Ooh.
So it's not the nicest of all situations, you know, even if you can deal with it, what's with your, you know, family, you know, it's an issue for them as well. So trying to keep events like that low frequency is a good goal. But in the end, it's either you do what you sell, and we sell privacy, hence we have to do it.
Mhm.
And if we don't do it, we have to, yeah, it's probably better than to, I mean, if they could really, really force us one day, and I don't think they will, but should it ever come to the point where they can really force us to do things we don't want to do, then I guess I'm gonna become a carpenter.
That's it. Take the electronics away. Live offline.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's there's a point to where you can go, and if you can't honor your promises when you sell a product, don't sell the product. You know, so far we're managing, and yeah, it has been up and down, and some tough learning sessions, and very unnice middle of the night encounters with people with badges, but so far we did well. We never had to give up any client. It really pays off to not have data, you know. That's like a awesome
That's the way to go. You just
so-
don't save it, and then you don't have
Don't
it.
save
and
it, then
ask
you don't
for
have
you
to give it.
have Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree with that. No
And
logs.
I mean, sometimes policemen have an issue understanding that, you know, and then they want to make you collect the data, and then you explain to them how you cannot do that, and blah 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 blah. But in the end, it's the only way that helps, you know.
It's all systemic. You have to design it right from the first
Yes.
place.
Yeah.
The early choices you make could doom
Oh
you
yeah,
later.
they haunt you
Yeah,
forever.
all those
Yes,
kind of things,
exactly, exactly. I mean, we've been doing good. I mean, it's like 10 years or something that we are in existence now.
Mhm.
Never had to answer a warrant for data, like never give out data, since we didn't have any. Never had to follow a warrant to have a tapping order on somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost a few servers in between to police shopping, you know, but so far we managed to go through it. But that's not a guarantee for the future, you know. I mean, it could be any time that they change the law, and we're sitting there and say, hey, we have to shut down because we kind of follow this law, you know.
It's a lot like those warrant canaries. The warrant canary's there. Then when it's gone, whoa, I don't know what happened, but it's gone now.
Yeah, though there's the issue with the warrant canaries, and that is it's unclear how little they're able to compel you. So if they actually work is a good question.
Mm.
So, and personally, my point is, you know, build systems in a way that you cannot give away data,
Yes.
you know, because you don't have it. You know, that is what you want to do. You
Well,
know, that's
that's
the
why
anti-warrant system.
I was so horrified to see Facebook and all these other systems built the way they were built. Originally, we had Unix, we had Unix protocols, we were building the internet, we had text, we could chat each other, all these things, but they were all system by system, server by server. Then they built the big Facebook and everyone went in it. And I was like, but wait, any administrator, because I've administered things, will have access to that.
Yeah.
And they'll mess with it, and they'll look at girls, and they'll look at whatever, because administrators are out of control. And even when I was an administrator, I needed to be watched. I need to be,
Let me
worked with
do
people.
a little shout out to Yahoo Mail.
Yeah.
You know, that's been the case. Like a few days ago, a dude was caught, system administrator at Yahoo.
Yeah.
You know, basically collecting all those naked pics of his colleagues and friends, ex-friends, whatever. So, I mean, yeah, crypto, number one. Multi-party admin access, number two. Number three, don't store or generate any data that you don't really need.
Mhm.
And most of the data that people generate today, you don't need. It's just relatively hard often to get rid of data that you don't need, because everything is built for, oh, let's produce another few bytes of logs.
Well, and everything in Facebook, get us more data, give us
Yeah,
your city, give us more info. And
it's
then
intentional.
the admin's looking at more and more data, and the other admin and the other admin and his girlfriend, and he's blackmailing this guy and all these things. I saw that from the beginning where, but everyone went in, and once they were in, we were all stuck and we couldn't get out. And you wanted to see baby photos, you want to see vacations. You have to give up all your information to see baby photos and vacations. I heard someone describe Facebook as the best photo sharing platform ever, where we also gave up all our privacy to get photo sharing. It was like, we could have just built person-to-person photo sharing. You store it on your hard drive, put an encrypted copy on Friends.
Or go to 4chan and then you do it anonymously.
Yeah, and just put the baby pictures there.
Yeah, but I think the big thing that the social media platforms have really managed to excel in is to get us all hooked on some digital social cocaine, and that's it. I mean,
well, they're so good
talk
at
to a
building
junkie,
it so much better,
I mean, oh, I don't have a clean needle anymore. Who cares? So it's the same thing, with Facebook. We're all high on that shit, and then
Twitter too.
It's not a clean needle. Who cares? So
VPN's taking too long to load. Just turn it off.
Exactly.
It's right there.
It's the junkie approach to life. Usually doesn't go that well.
Well, and they're so good at designing it and trapping us in. It's hard for us to get out. But we know, Smuggler, you have to go to your speech soon. But thank you for coming by. Really enjoyed the conversation. Where can people check your work out? Maybe cryptohippie.com.
Right. Select.cryptohippie.com, which is the newest version of our product. My personal website is opaque.link. I also work for anaplex.net. And that's it. Yeah.
All right. And keep wearing the mask and keep representing for privacy here. We appreciate it, man. So.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thank you, man.
Same time next year.
Yeah. Let's keep doing this as long as we can. So they're working on our next guest right now. I think he might be putting his mask on. Seems to be an important tactic these days. But it was great to talk about Hong Kong there just for a second, because it really is starting to heat up in the streets there. I believe it's unfortunate they shot a protester in the chest recently, I've heard, and then the protesters responded with Molotov cocktails, which is not the kind of drink that you want in the streets or anywhere. So it is a mess over there, of course, right here on the World Crypto Network. We covered the Umbrella Revolution live 4 years ago. Check it out in our archives. But let's go ahead and welcome the next guest here to the World Crypto Network Live. Gives a thumbs up and a share. Come on down. You can there. It's up to you. Make sure the mic's on. And here's our next guest from Samurai Wallet. How's it going there?
What's up? Nice to see you again.
Yeah, welcome back. We talked last year. I think it was the first interview ever about Samurai Wallet.
Yeah.
We did it live on the internet. Of course, everyone had masks, so it's hard to recognize and remember people. But we remember the mask. So
yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me again.
All right. And last year we talked about a lot of features you guys are working on at Samurai Wallet. Maybe just refresh the people at home and give them an update. What have you guys been working on?
All right. Well, last year, what did we do last year? Last year we talked about what we had Ricochet.
Yep.
Since last year we've introduced staggered Ricochet, which hops transactions across multiple blocks.
Okay.
This has the benefit of reducing the initial Ricochet fingerprint, which was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
We knew about it and decided that it was still a worthwhile transaction, and we would fix it later on with staggered Ricochet. So that's out now, and that's getting a lot of use. People really like that feature. I think we had probably just announced Dojo, which is our full node backend. That's since, of course, been released.
Yeah.
And we see all sorts of people running their own Dojo full nodes on all sorts of different devices. And what that allows you to do is completely take your trust away from Samurai in validating your own transactions in broadcasting your own transactions, in verifying your own transactions. So we're happy to see usage growing every month on Dojo.
So previously, if I had Samurai Wallet, it would maybe go through your servers,
Definitely,
but if I had Dojo, it would go through my server.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, basically, Dojo is exactly what we run on our servers. So when we give you Dojo, you're running your own small instance of Samurai on your own hardware. That means you could provide Dojo access to your family as well. So you could host a wallet service for your family or your organization or your club or friends or meetup group, whatever you want to do.
Nice.
And did I see yesterday some big news about Android's mixing?
That was this morning.
This morning? Oh, go on.
So, yeah, we launched Whirlpool for beta testing, I believe, in April or May, and opened it up to more general testing on desktop in June. And since then, I mean, it started to explode month over month. We're seeing thousands of mixes every month, and that's desktop only. Yeah, you have to have an Android phone with Samurai installed to use it. So it's still pretty limited in terms of how many people can access it.
Yeah.
But we're very, very happy with how many mixes we're getting.
Yeah.
And as of this morning, we started testing internally in our QA process mobile mixing, which is a massive, huge step.
Yeah.
And then this takes mixing away from the realm of, you know, tinkerers and hackers and this and that, and it's press button, get mix.
Well, that's really what it needs to be, because we need normal people to use it. I always say all the time that if you're just mixing with other, you know, not criminals, but other privacy people, other people that the government might be interested in, you're just in a, you know, pile with the other things, and they just know where to look. But if you get thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people to put their data in as well, perfectly good, you know, bought a soda, bought a, you know, bicycle, whatever, that kind of data in with the, you know, bought a privacy book or bought a VPN or whatever that today's crime is. Now you're mixing. Now you're sorting, you're flipping, and it does need to be, you know, one button, easy, and then turned on by default. A lot of times these things are not turned on just for no reason, things like that.
Yeah, well, it really, you have to tell the story. You have to explain to the user why they would even want to do this, because, you know, the Twitterverse, it's niche. The hacker group, the Congress, this is niche.
Yeah.
Our user base is much larger than those two groups, and they may not know exactly why they want to engage in this functionality.
Sure.
So painting that picture and providing that story to them is really part of what you're talking about, right? It's easy. It's always about education, but it's not only just education. It's paint the picture. You know, and that's what we saw in the financial surveillance talk just today. For us in this Congress, that wasn't a surprise, right? Like, that's just, we know that already.
Sure, of course.
But that's a really scary talk for everyone outside of this conference. That would terrify them. That would scare the shit out of them. So we need to paint that picture to our users who may not know and explain to them why they need this. And I think it's a compelling story, and anyone sensible, or anyone certainly using Samurai Wallet would want to engage in that behavior. They would definitely want to mix.
Well, I didn't realize myself how easily traceable Bitcoin was until I used one of the, I think it was Chainalysis, but their wallet.explorer or something like that. But you could put in your address and go back and just see literally the entire, you know, the tree of when it was back to the it was mined in.
I remember
and
after all,
you got tags of exchanges of. It's very
after all the hacks, you'd see the chart, the flow chart or whatever, and the money went here. They split it into 10 addresses, then back to 1, then into 100, back to 1, and it was like all this stuff doesn't do anything. And Chainalysis had it the whole way, going up and down.
There's a guy on Twitter who's just been doing phenomenal research on coin joins. Ergo BTC on Twitter. Check his stuff out. But he's not de-anonymizing, but attempting to de-anonymize coin joins. Whirlpool, Wasabi, join market, the whole game.
Yeah.
And this research is incredibly useful. We need to encourage people to do this type of thing. Because it makes us more resilient.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to be the type of people to bury our head in the sand and say everything's okay, we were private.
Sure.
When we're not. We need to know.
Find the holes and plug them.
Exactly. Absolutely right. So I encourage everyone to look at that research. And for developers, wallet developers who haven't implemented CoinJoin yet, to seriously consider it, we designed Whirlpool to be modular, and we designed it to be, if you're a wallet developer listening, you could do two things with Whirlpool. If you wanted CoinJoin in your app, you could compete with us, take it all, it's open source, and compete, open your own coordinator, do your own liquidity.
Call it Whirlpool 2.
Whatever you want. Yeah, it's not copyright or trademarked or anything. Sure. Or, which I would prefer, share liquidity, but don't share the coordination, because that would be epic, because you'd have two independent groups of liquidity of peers, who would be mixing with each other.
Yeah.
Right. And that would just, one coordinator wouldn't know the other users and what, so.
And why not just two? Why not hundreds and many more? I mean,
exactly.
This, idea scales, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's why we built Whirlpool to be modular in that way, whether we can share or you can compete or we can do all sorts of things. So we're making a push this year to get other application developers, wallet developers, exchanges, all of this sort of stuff working with us and implementing Whirlpool.
And I know there's something in particular that really excites me is a piece of hardware coming up.
Yes.
Extremely excites me. In fact, I'm itching. I got one of the first noddles, the first 21, number 13, and I'm trying my best to be able to be, on the peg when the Samurai one goes live. And if I can get number 13, I'll be over the moon as well.
Yeah, I hear they're going up for sale tonight.
Yes. Yeah.
I just saw it for the first time yesterday in the flesh in person.
Yeah.
Keto, Miner, myself, and the rest of our team who are here at HCPP, we put it together right on the table with where you drink and smoke.
Nice.
So we were there with the screwdriver putting the components together.
And what's it going to be?
So we talked about Dojo, our full node software. So one of the issues with this is it's kind of difficult to set up, right? You have to be somewhat technically minded. With this piece of hardware, you just need to plug it in.
Nice.
So it's basically self-sovereignty when it comes to transactions and financial privacy in a box.
So you'd have a full node, plus you'd have all the Samurai features where you could use Ricochet or Whirlpool or whatever these mixing type things are. And it's all right there. It's your own personal little money server.
Yeah, you can pop it right next to your router or right next to your modem or whatever. It's always on, it's always running. And this is what allows your mobile wallet to connect up to your full node on the go. You don't have to do any networking stuff, no changing IP addresses or doing port forwarding.
Is it via Tor by default?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
it's the only way it's accessible. It has to be via Tor. And we have just recently, with help with some of our users in very restricted countries who are having issues with Tor and getting access to the Tor network, we've implemented some functionality around Tor bridges with them in mind. So I know that a lot of our users are in heavily censored and restricted countries. And Dojo should be resilient for them because of their contributions. Yeah.
Now, I hate to point this out, but what about the iOS wallet? How's that coming
That also
along?
came up last year.
It's tough. I know I'm an Apple guy. I'm stuck with the ecosystem. They have all my pinball tables. I can't leave. But how's it going on that project?
So I think the answer is the same as last year.
Soon.
2 weeks.
Definitely not 2 weeks.
I know it's difficult, and it's also you want it to synchronize. You want it to have the same features.
Not even that. I don't think it will be possible to have the same features on iOS.
The restrictive App Store.
Yeah. So for example, I don't think Ricochet, in the way that we implement it now, would be viable on iOS, and I certainly don't think Whirlpool would. I think they'd have a big objection to that. That's not to say we haven't thought about it and we haven't thought about ways around it.
I was going to say workarounds. I mean, what do we got beyond that?
We do have ideas around that. Right now, the biggest issue is finding talent on iOS. There's plenty of talent on iOS developers, but we need a very specific subsection of talents, and it needs to overlap with each other. Right? A lot of iOS devs that are focused on Bitcoin tend to be primarily JavaScript based because it's very quick and easy to spin up applications that way. We're not a JavaScript shop. We like native code. So Swift or Objective-C is a requirement, and that's quite difficult to find.
Sure.
That developer who also groks Bitcoin from a cultural level,
Yeah.
and at a very low technical level as well. The libraries really don't exist on iOS for the stuff that we do. We had to write them for Android, so, and we know we have to write them for iOS. So it's mostly a talent challenge right now.
Would there be like a hosted option or a through another system option? I could run it in a browser or something like that?
Probably not. I think we were going to avoid the browser entirely.
It could be monitored. It could be tracked.
Yeah, there's just too many. It's not sandboxed enough, even though Firefox is making some headway there and doing sandbox browser tabs and everything like that. I just don't trust the browser. Maybe it's like an old.
Sure, there's too many plugins, too many things in there.
Yeah. We like apps. Whirlpool is a desktop app.
Yeah.
Right now, it's also going to be in mobile. Dojo it's basically server software, so you run that headless generally. But yeah, we'll get on iOS eventually. Honestly, it's not a huge concern of mine. I know so many people want it. But
it's tough because I feel like a bad Bitcoin user because I haven't tried Samurai Wallet and all these things. And I install lots of apps. I try lots of things, but I haven't bought an Android. I tried to buy one last year at the shop or whatever. Couldn't find it. Was hard to get. I wanted a cheap one to try it out. But then if you get a cheap one, you get terrible performance. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money because I don't have a lot of money. So it wasn't there for me. And it's just not necessary for things I do.
Absolutely.
But
well, one good thing I can say is we have talked about this in the context of Whirlpool specifically. And obviously, we want more people using Whirlpool.
Sure.
More peers is better.
Yeah.
More liquidity is better. So we are developing what we call a bridge app, which will allow users on iOS or even users of other wallets, they don't have to be a Samurai Wallet user, to generate the pairing code that is required to use Whirlpool. So that will be coming down the line.
Okay.
And that will open things up, I think, to iOS users and everyone else.
That sounds good. I'll wait.
At least you'll have Whirlpool.
Yeah. Get an option going there.
And so, anything else big that you're working on right now that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, there's a few things that we're working on right now. I'm not going to get too specific with it. People are listening. One thing we're working on, I think I can talk about, is enhancements to coin selection algorithm. So we did this. We innovated and came up with something called Stonewall, which was effectively a decoy coin join. So you cannot tell it's not a coin join, but it's actually just one wallet. And then we came up with Stonewall X2, which actually is a coin join between two wallets, but it's indistinguishable from a non-coin join Stonewall. So that provides extra plausible deniability for our one wallet Stonewall users. And now we're coming up with something, I'm not going to give the name yet, but we'll build on top of what we've done with Stonewall already, and make it even more robust than it is right now. So that's going to be something that is going to benefit everyone, whether they know it or not, because coin selection is something that the wallet does behind the scenes, And then the second part is we're going to bring more of the power of OXT, which is our analysis platform, free for use for everyone. And you guys should use it. Go audit your transactions. Go look at the crumbs you're leaving behind. And if you're a Samurai Wallet user and you see crumbs, then email us and complain. If you're another wallet user and you see these links and crumbs, you do the same thing, because it's the only way that privacy will get better.
And so is that on the site, that feature? So Samurai Wallet.
If you just go to oxt.me.
oxt.me.
Yeah. Cool. oxt.me, you can search. It's a light block explorer, so you can search for your transactions in that way. But really, at its heart, it's an analysis engine. So you can visualize the way transaction flows across time. You can, and again, if you look at ErgoBTC's screenshots in his tweets over the last few weeks, he's using OXT to visualize these things and then display them to users so they can kind of understand them, what they're looking at. But we want to bring that power of that analysis into the wallet so users can make more informed choices when they're, for example, deciding, do I actually need to mix these UTXOs? The answer is yes, but they can see exactly why. They say, well, I need to mix this UTXO 25% more than this one because it's linked to this, this, and this.
Right. Yeah.
And this is going to impact my privacy. And that goes into what I was talking about, building the story, building that narrative and showing them exactly the provenance of their funds. You know,
it's like well, they're saying you don't know what you don't know. And I think it was with either Paul or Smuggler that was saying you think you're being safe in the realm of your knowledge, but there's so many other areas, and you have these eye openers and like not epiphanies, but every now and then you're like realization, whoa, what have I been doing? Should have been, I should have done more research. I need to be more private. But the thing is, it's a learning experience, and I suppose even yourself, you there's probably holes in your like privacy that you're not fully aware of yet. And then as soon as you find them out, you're reactive, you sort it out, and then
you have to fix them. You have to take everything seriously.
Yeah.
Even if it turns out not to be.
Yeah.
You have to investigate. Absolutely. And it's a good point that you make, because we do all screw up, right? And we do all make these mistakes. But we have to remember we're screwing up and making these mistakes in a ledger that cannot be altered.
Yes.
So these mistakes are for life.
No Google right to be forgotten. No Bitcoin right to be forgotten.
No, these are for life. And you need to be conscious of that from the start of your journey. And, I think it's something that hasn't really landed in a lot of people's minds yet. And a lot of people have a trend. I see a trend of people saying and thinking that Whirlpool or any CoinJoin in general will solve this problem for them, and it won't. CoinJoin is a forward-looking solution. Doesn't erase your past.
Yeah. So they can tell where you're coming from, and then you're able to at least kind of stem the
solution. Yeah, you stop it when you can, but all that history does remain.
Yeah.
And it will be used against you. And that's again why we always say no KYC. Don't connect your identity to your Bitcoin accounts and your wallets. Don't connect your biometrics to your Bitcoin wallets. Don't. Because you're leaving all these cookie crumbs, in addition to the ledger with all of your past actions.
And I think some news that came out was either yesterday or the day before that the FCA wants to extend AML5 to wallets, to crypto asset wallets.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was what they want to extend it to open source developers.
Yes, yeah.
AML5D, as far as I remember it, included crypto asset wallets already anyway, when it came over from the EU.
Yeah.
We were hopeful that had the UK left the EU for Brexit, they would perhaps not implement AML5D in the way that it came from Brussels.
Yeah.
We were hopeful that FCA would be more sensible, take a more sensible approach.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're not doing that. But we also have to remember in the UK, just because a minister has put forward something or an agency has put forward something, it doesn't mean it's government policy, and it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The porn ban never materialized, and there was so much press about that.
Such a terrible idea. You're going to have to register. You have to go to a shop and buy a license to watch porn. They register it all.
And
just on its face.
Categories of banned porn, like that no
yeah.
longer allowed, and all sorts of stuff like that. But so my point was, there was so much hubbub about that for months and months. That was a news cycle, and then it just never materialized.
Yeah.
So I think that there will be a response to the FCA from the community and from actors within the
I think
space.
So CoinShares encouraged people to give feedback on the FCA. They kind of provided a letter. Hopefully they took note about it. And I think Danny Masters did a talk on CoinScrum about it as well. I haven't checked up on that yet, but at least there is a feedback mechanism. And
I'm not big on regulators, obviously, but if you're going to be dealing with a regulator, a British regulator is the one you want to deal with. They do listen and they do take feedback on board. So I am sure that what we're all talking about with the open source developers, this and that, I do think that will be moderated in the final text. However, AML5D just by itself, even without that, is a poison pill. It's an absolute poison pill. And I think any wallet that is based in the EU is at risk. Custodial or non-custodial, unfortunately.
I think the worrying thing for me is that, well, for everyone, I think, is that there's just so many kind of holes that are being plugged from the government side, and they're slowly kind of, you run in one direction and then bang, they put a restriction down, and it's a constant like arms race against privacy invasion.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And it can sometimes feel like we're on the losing end of that that battle. But I don't think we are. I think we're more powerful than we realize yet, and we can't not get cocky about it.
Yeah.
We have to build the tools out still,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of work to do to get people onboarded. But just having that option available there, and I mean that's why I think, at least at this Congress, we're all kind of on the same page there, from a cultural perspective, from an ideological perspective. Early Bitcoiners got into Bitcoin for largely similar reasons, and so that's something I actually think needs to be drilled into more, culture, and that culture is actually our best defense from a determined and serious actor who's trying to harm Bitcoin. Because if they can't get to you because you have a strong cultural base where you're not going to waver, then that's the defense. And SegWit 2x was a glimmer into that, right? And the UASF, that was a glimmer into the culture spontaneously emerging and saying no.
And fighting for it.
But
I still remember that Paris conference. I went in thinking I was the only one that liked UASF, and then everyone had the hats, everyone had the stickers. Every speech, like the speaker would go along, do his normal speech, and at the end he'd throw in a slide. He's like, "By the way, I'm totally in favor of UASF." And everyone would be like, "Yeah."
And I only thought that because that's what people told you, right? That was the narrative. No, no one
likes this. It's it's break off.
People on Twitter. Okay.
Yeah. And then it got bigger and bigger.
That was our first glimmer into the culture emerging. That culture saying no, that culture just saying absolutely not. This is a red line and we're not willing to cross it.
Yeah.
But who was our, enemy? It was Roger. And that's, he's not a mastermind.
He's not a CIA. He's not heavily funded. I mean, all these things.
Right? That's Bitcoin Jesus, right?
Sure. He was with us.
Yeah. So the culture, I don't think, is strong enough to take on a determined state attack or a determined agency attack.
Oh, we're going to find out, right?
Well, we will find out eventually, because that will happen eventually. And I think it's important that it's necessary that culturally we are aligned. Ideologically, we are aligned. There are red lines that will not be crossed. And if so, there will be, metaphorical bloodshed.
The glimmer of hope I have is that the people who are making the decisions to reduce your privacy are the people also impacted by the decisions to reduce privacy. So you'd hope that these people realize the extent of, of privacy invasion and kind of take that into consideration and think, I'm ruining it for myself as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to start seeing even more politicians going down for the dirty financial deeds as they grant more power to the financial surveillance companies. So I think you're absolutely right in that. I respect, and maybe that's enough for them to cool it.
Exactly. They don't want to get fished out.
And that's a win.
I think that Bitcoin is hope, and that this is the hope that we have, and that we're all kind of rallying around it here. And going back to something you said earlier, that we do need to educate people, and people need education. And something Smuggler said reminded me of that. He said, thank you to Yahoo, and thank you to the Yahoo engineer who, like I've always said, because I ran a BBS and all we did was read everyone's mail and watch everyone when they logged on. And that was, a little 8-year-old taste of privacy. And to have the Yahoo guy going through and watching everyone and looking at all the pictures, and the Facebook people were checking up on Tom Cruise and the celebrities. And we keep having all these examples where it's like, yes, if you grant access to your data to everyone, they'll misuse it. If we encrypt it on the first place and that do all the systems right, then they don't even have the access to do that.
Yeah, don't give them the opportunity.
And that even some normal people maybe are waking up to it. And then we see the pushback where they take away end-to-end encryption in WhatsApp or Facebook. And then people say, wait a minute, what is end-to-end encryption? Is this something I need? Does this help me? And that we're, we have we have an echo chamber here. We're all pro privacy. We're all pro Bitcoin, whatever. But getting out of that into the normal populace is hard for us to speak their language. But now we have the media doing it for us, kind of bringing these ideas up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to what you said about the surveillance, financial surveillance ramping up and heating up, that's not only going to impact the lives of these politicians who are acting inappropriately, it's going to impact the lives of everyday normal people who now can't buy a house, now can't buy a car, now like that's going to impact them. Yeah. And they don't need Bitcoin until they need Bitcoin. Yeah. And as long as it's here, which it's here and it's working, and it has been working, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. Yeah. Because it's here. And when you need it, you'll find it.
It's also with things like the prince and the princess, where they're losing their privacy and now they're suing back at the media. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that could echo through everyone else. If all your letters were public, if all you have nothing to hide, they probably, I don't know what they have, but they probably have nothing to hide, seem like nice people. And when their letters are published, it destroys their relationships. When Sony was hacked, we suddenly found out what all these executives thought about everybody else. Yeah. Private communication is important. Not just for spies, but for normal people.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point that, about the celebrities, let's say, bringing it to light, because those are the people that do have power over like random crypto people who are seen to be in an echo chamber. It's exactly as you say, like the people say, if what do you have to hide? But imagine everyone's, all of your data was available to a few people that could, there's anything from conversations, pictures, anything like that.
Just metadata by itself. Is you can paint an enormous picture. Yeah. Again, in the financial surveillance talk, he had a very great analogy where he used the castle as the analysis people, and you can't see into that castle. You just see a big imposing building. Then he showed the view from the castle looking over the land. See everything. Yeah. Right? But you can't see the individual lives of these people. Yeah. You see little ants moving around. But that's enough. You can get an idea. This ant goes to this house a lot. Yeah. That ant has a little pool. Yeah. How does he have a pool? Yeah. Look at his income tax statement. He can't afford a pool. He must be doing something, so privacy has to be default. And anyone who says that, you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't worry about it. Do they not have curtains in their home? Do they not have,
Just about, great analogy, I think, that is a warrant. Yeah. You need a warrant to search. So you need a really good reason to break someone's privacy and root through their stuff. And there's a due process but just making your data available and not knowing how that data is stored, at least with your home, that they've raided it. Whereas your data could be sat there, 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion people could have seen it, or one or none. Yeah, and you don't know. And that's what's the scary part is it can flow anywhere, it can be transmitted anywhere. It's data, and it can be used against you. Yep. Even if it's not bad.
And one of the most important pieces of data, important is financial data, and the ability to be able to transact freely is fundamental. To me, it's speech. To me, it's the equivalent of speech. And you restricting someone's ability to transact is exactly the same as restricting their freedom of speech.
Well, there's nothing in this world that is free, really, that, and so if by restricting people's money, you're literally cutting them off. It's savage.
Absolutely. All right. Well, unfortunately, they're signaling me that the next guest is ready. But just tell people once more, where can they check out Samurai Wallet, and what else?
So you can get Samurai Wallet on Android Play Store. You can check us out on samuraiwallet.com and on Twitter @SamuraiWallet.
All right.
And you spell Samurai SAMOURAI.
All right. Thank you so much for the interview. Great to talk to you again, and hopefully next year again. Yeah.
And I look forward to buying a big red box tonight.
Very good. Thank you, man. All right. They're going to go ahead and send in the next guest. Everybody sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Let's keep spreading this video, and say hello in the chat. We think we got the video and the audio working, so it's going pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and bring in the next guest now. And here they are. So let's see.
Yes, true about the face recognition tech. It's only a time until they can like read your retinas from a massive distance.
All right, come on down. We've got the next guest ready to go.
Hi guys.
Hey, how's
Hi
it
there.
going?
Hey, how's it going?
Victor, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. Come on in. We got a microphone there, microphone there. You're gonna just flip it on with the switch there. Make sure it's on. And then we're
socks, yeah.
yeah.
I got some red ones.
I put a sticker on to cover the brand.
Ah, there it is. Everyone should do that. Cover their brands up with Bitcoin.
Is it on?
So you guys are from Rockaway Blockchain.
Yeah, Rockaway Blockchain.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do at Rockaway Blockchain?
So we are actually part of Rockaway Capital.
Okay.
It's a traditional venture capital firm here in Europe
All right.
with around 50 companies in our portfolio, $2.4 billion sales of all the companies.
Nice.
And a bit like Andreessen Horowitz in the US, 2 years ago, we created a blockchain division,
Okay.
which is called Rockaway Blockchain. And right now, well, nobody knows about it yet, but it's semi-public. We have just did a spin-off of the division into a separate fund, which is called Rockaway Blockchain Fund.
All right. So you guys are focused on investing in cryptocurrency and related projects, things like that?
No, so we don't really invest into existing cryptocurrencies, but we mostly use the approach of a traditional VC to invest into infrastructure. So we look at exchanges, into wallets, custodians, like my grandparents are still not using crypto because it's so complicated. Yeah.
Sure,
Even trust
sure.
wallets. Yeah. You install it, you open, you have to, put the seed and write
Yeah,
it down
yeah.
on paper. And secondly, we also look at open finance, we call it. Some in the US it's called DeFi, like lending platforms, borrowing platforms,
Sure.
like Maker, insurances, payments, remittances. And thirdly, we look at resource monetization. So for example, decentralized storage of files or networking. But Dusan is the leading our deal flow and chief investment guy, and much smarter than me.
Thank you.
So is there any particular area that you're focusing on at the moment? So, wallets specifically or protocols?
So we have identified the DeFi space as something to focus on. I think that is one of the very few areas where crypto has traction recently. I mean, we are watching the DeFi pools kind of a lot, and like looking at the fundamental values. I mean, we are traditional VC in crypto. We are searching for fundamentals, and we see value, like real value for user in the DeFi space. So this is where most of our focus is currently on. We have been putting a lot of efforts to understand what we call a resource monetization space, which is the, let's say, decentralized cloud computing, decentralized networks, decentralized data monetization. But I mean, there are a lot of discussion that we had, there was, but we don't think the timing is right at this moment. I mean, when like some rule of thumb in the traditional investing is you need to be either 10 times better or 10 times cheaper for the users to migrate to your platform, for example, comparing to AWS. And we don't see such move happening anytime soon.
And what move do you think will be the first, the first indicator that time is right?
That's actually a very good question. And I think what we see first is the decentralized storage platforms getting traction, like for example, IPFS or Filecoin and I think this will be a good indicators for the more complicated cloud computing platforms to be at a very good starting point for users to get some traction.
I would also like payment infrastructure to be stronger. I own 3 bars in the city center of Prague. We accept crypto. Nobody pays with crypto but me. Yeah. and why? Because it's basically my barman have to look at the mobile phone of the customer to see if the transaction went through.
Sure.
Yeah?
Right.
We use coinpayments.net. Yeah, and so the solutions are not there yet.
Well, there's you should check out World CryptoNet. Ben's videos. Ben creates these point of sale devices, so that could be something you could look into.
Well, and he's making them at like more the hobbyist level. You could make your own, but there's not quite a cash register. So we have one here from General Bytes that seems pretty good, but even then they're taking 0 confirmations, which could be a risk. If you're selling a beer, it's fine. If you're selling a Ferrari, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, we sell Dom Perignon champagne bottles.
Oh, yeah, you gotta watch that one. Yeah,
So
I
you-
can have that, but not bottle service. No. So
So what would, just out of curiosity for the viewers, what are the names of the, well, not just the viewers, I want to know for tonight, for the names of the 3 bars you going?
So the main one is called Valmont.
Valmont,
Yeah, Valmont, like
Okay.
the movie by Milos Forman, you know, the very famous Czech director. And actually, that movie is very interesting because it's a complete failure. Yeah, because there were 2 studios competing for that movie, and the other studio was much faster than Milos Forman, and it was called Cruel Intentions, the movie. Yeah.
Oh,
right.
sure.
And Cruel Intentions had actors which were very much known. I think Michelle Pfeiffer or someone, you know.
Sure.
So it was much more commercial oriented. And then the production studio of Milos Forman, they asked him, so should we also accelerate or are we dropping? And he said, no, we are going to do it much better. Our product will be better. But ultimately he failed. The product was much better. So the costumes are amazing at Valmont. If you saw the movie, it's an amazing movie. But the customers did not have appetite to go and watch the same story 6 months after.
A similar thing happened in the 70s where Stanley Kubrick was working on a film of Napoleon. And of course, at a Kubrick level, he was doing incredible research. He knew where everyone was in every battle. At the same time, Hollywood was cranking out one of the old Napoleon movies, and they canceled Kubrick's Napoleon because some generic Napoleon came out and no one cared. And the notes are lost forever and the card catalog's full of data he generated and all that.
Yeah.
So,
and isn't there also a movie, Steve Jobs movie?
there's 2 that came out simultaneously as well.
Yeah.
It seems to be a trend, the volcano movies, the earthquake movies, the Jobs movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get the same idea. Then, you know, Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody, the rock star movies.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trends in Hollywood.
So, you know, so in the movies, definitely there is first mover advantage. Let's see how it plays out in cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
Well, and going back to the VC, have you guys already found a lot of companies to invest, or are you just at the early stage where you're looking for companies to invest?
We have actually invested in 9 projects or companies so far.
Yeah.
I mean, most of them are in US and in Asia. I mean, we have 9 investments, 4 are in US, 4 in Asia.
Yeah.
And our last investment that went public, like I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, was Vega Protocol.
Okay.
Which is a decentralized platform for derivatives.
Interesting.
And it's a European company from London. It's our first European portfolio company. So yeah, we need to celebrate that in my bar ordering a bottle of champagne.
Just don't pay with zero confirmation.
More comps.
And we are very excited about that project. Raised 5 million, led by Pantera Capital. Yeah, and we are one of the European investors.
And what kind of investments are you looking for? If you described your perfect unknown company now, would people come to you? Would they be existing? Would they be at the project stage?
Dusan.
So we would rather invest at the point where the project is seeing some initial interest from the customers or from the users.
Something that has traction.
Yeah, something that has traction. We don't really like to, invest in very early stage because in markets that are not unproven.
Sure.
So I think looking at the space in general on the other side, there is not many of the projects that have traction already with some users. Yeah. So we need to compromise on this a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are okay investing in seed, and this is what we do at this point. But we would prefer at later stage to invest in companies that are like somehow already.
I would say, I would say we are not really good at early stages, although we are both computer science programmers. But there are other VCs who are much better to help with token economics or just maybe some programming language improvements. We are much better at scaling the user base because we are part of Rockaway Capital, so we have several businesses, and then we can help scale also with corporate business development. So if there is a coin for e-commerce, we are big in e-commerce, we can scale it through our companies.
Yeah, it can be very difficult to see the winners and the losers from a very early stage. And then also it's your appetite for risk. Some investors only want to be the last investment in a successful thing. Others are willing to be the first investment to take the more risk. So it just depends where you are on that scale.
And we have a 100 million fund right now, the one which we basically spun off. Yeah. And we expect to invest into 40 companies. Yeah. So if you divide it, you can see that the average ticket is already relatively high.
What I would like to add to the investment is that we like to compare the projects or the companies that we are looking at, not to the crypto space, like isolated, but to the general space, also the traditional industry that the project is somehow competing. So I think like what I like to summarize in one sentence when somebody is asking me what do we invest in, I say we invest in use cases. And then we come to the detail of, okay, the infrastructure use cases like exchanges or wallets and the stuff Victor was talking about, and the DeFi and resource monetization.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with, well, there were many, but the 2017 ICO craze was that there was this fantasy that they would raise the money and then suddenly they'd infiltrate the real world.
Yeah.
And that's it, bang, they've raised the money, they're gonna make it now. And you know, there's so many use cases that sounded good, but when they were actually tried out, it's very difficult to get the normies involved, get the non-crypto people involved.
Yeah, totally. I think the future of successful investing in crypto is to invest in companies that are targeting these real world use cases. I mean,
and successfully.
Successfully. What I have struggling to understand is why this ecosystem is so hard, or there are some people claiming or falling into the thinking that doing a general purpose platform is somehow way to success. Of course, there is a chance it might succeed, but from the venture perspective, it's very little. And I mean, looking at the software development space in the past, it has been very common for people to be stuck in the garage and developing something, and then when they are live or when they are completed, they expect that the world will just take them and build on top of them. And this never happens, or it happens very, very rarely.
And this is known fact. So if you read the book Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, he explains that you have to have a use case, you have to have a final customer, and you have to have a full product in order to cross the chasm. Yeah? Ethereum did that with ICOs. ICOs is basically crowdfunding, and why people were putting so much money, Filecoin 250 million, because of speculation. Speculation, basically, the main value proposition of cryptocurrency so far has been getting rich quickly. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, people have been trading and speculating since long time on many things. Even, and actually, Alex from Dragonfly has a very good blog post on this. Yeah, and he basically says that, FX trading, it's 80% speculation. Yeah. But cryptocurrencies are much better for trading and kind of speculating because it's proven. Yeah, you have a blockchain where you can see that it actually exists versus art where you have to have some auditor who check where Mona Lisa is actually really Mona Lisa. Yeah?
Exactly.
And it's also easy to transact and much better, and many more other features which make it just perfect for trading.
And our friend Theo has also said that speculation is a perfectly valid use case.
Totally.
It drives people a little crazy because they want to do remittances or they want to do payments or they want to do digital gold. There's a lot of fun and exciting, dramatic use cases, but speculation is something real. Hype is something real. People want to make more money or lose all their money or whatever. And so it does happen. It's also with these investments and things very much a matter of timing. If you were pets.com, you failed to serve online. You failed to serve online. But if you were chewy.com 15 years later, everyone has a computer, everyone orders pet food, and now it works.
And I think, so for us as a VC, there has to be a use case. And trading and speculation is a use case. So for us, this space is validated as an investment space, number one. And number two, we see other use cases which are now becoming real and with traction. So I don't know, insurance, for example, you can today insure smart contracts via projects like Nexus Mutual. You can do lending, borrowing on either decentralized like Compound or centralized platforms like Celsius.
Yes, Celsius. So they is it 200 million they've done of is that what a figure I heard?
I think it's even more. I heard some 300 million. Celsius. MakerDAO now has, I think, around 250 million of assets locked into their smart contracts. Compound has, if you look at their website, $150 million of basically available cash to be borrowed. Yeah. Insurance, Nexus Mutual has right now 2 million, but 2 months ago it was $600,000 available to actually insure smart contracts against hacking. there really is traction, and we are so excited. Yeah. So I'm not spending any more time on traditional VC anymore. I completely delegated to my colleagues. We are crypto guys now. And we don't sleep, and we work over weekends. Yeah.
Well, this is great to hear, because we've had these ideas kicking around for a long time, things like loans and insurance and derivatives, things like that. I worked for BTC Jam back in the day, and we did some very early crypto loans, and it was pretty much a catastrophic failure. You let the people take the money off the site, they run off with it. Yeah. These newer ideas, letting people lend money just for margin trading on an exchange, don't let them take it off the website. That's a smart idea. And to see these things take off and work and implement many of the same ideas we had before, and then maybe even get to person-to-person lending, other options like this later on. So,
and I think, just like you say, it's timing.
Yeah, it really is, because we were there, and a friend of mine was working on kind of health insurance blockchains, and he was way too early on that too. And we all knew it, but what can you do? You have the idea when you have the idea. You can't choose when to have it. So
if anyone would be asking, like, what's the next thing to somehow pop up, I would bet on decentralized insurance. For example, as Victor has mentioned, the Nexus Mutual project, which is actually, you are able to insure yourself against loss of funds on the contract. And like, looking at the DeFi space, why we are asking ourselves the question, why are the interest rates on compounded high? And probably the answer is because there is not enough cash. That means there is this asymmetry on the market. So what is like preventing people to put cash into the ecosystem, to earn 8% PA? It's like a lot of, it's a good interest rate for a traditional space. So what we are coming to a conclusion that the onboarding process is somehow difficult, and the people cannot manage the risk very well, especially with crypto. So bringing something that they can insure themselves against is somehow, or can break the barrier or lower the barrier a little bit.
Yeah, I did hear one use case that sounded quite cool. I'm not sure if it was ever implemented, but they kind of pointed out that one of the problems that you have with certain areas of insurance is the oracles, the data feeding whether something happened. So, but one that seemed to be cracked, I'm not sure if it did, is like airlines. So if you're the airline insurance, if your airline's late, there's plenty of data out there that's trusted, as it were, and then it pays out on that. Do you know of any other use cases like that in terms of insurance, where they're kind of, it's easily programmable?
To be honest, no.
There's not many, I don't think.
It's very difficult. It's a pretty good case. Yeah.
I would say, so on one extreme, we are very excited by decentralized insurance. On the other extreme, we are not excited at all, and we think it's complete bullshit. It's blockchain for enterprise. Yeah. And when you think about it, and we invested into Argo, so it's a blockchain for enterprise. Fantastic teams. They were doing sales of Red Hat, so they know exactly how to sell open source. Yeah. When you think about it, actually, blockchain for enterprise only has value proposition when there are multiple parties that you have to connect through a third party, authority to which anybody can trust. Yeah. Otherwise, you put a central database, and it's much faster and it's much easier.
Yeah.
And it only applies, for example, in trade finance or in supply chain, but there actually the parties of the entire value chain do not want to cooperate. Yeah. Because of like miseconomics. Yeah. So in fair trade, you have transport and a bank and a transporter and another bank, and somehow they don't want to disclose how much they are earning on every transaction. So blockchain for enterprise, we don't think it's a use case, maybe far down the road. So that's the other extreme. Insurance, very excited about. Blockchain for enterprise, not at all.
It seemed like for a lot of those, they were just skipping over the step of having a database and digitizing their information. I know I worked on it at a law firm, and we did a case once that was all about the transport of gasoline. And you'd probably be surprised and horrified to learn that most truck drivers have a clipboard full of paper, and they're writing down how much gasoline they dropped off at which station. And later on, somebody scans the paper and it comes to us for the lawsuit. All they have to do is digitize that. Yeah. I trust the truck driver to enter the gasoline, has it in the truck, truck's empty at the end of the day, It all worked out. I trust the gasoline station to receive the gasoline. We don't exactly need a infallible blockchain or all the overhead that comes with it. Yet, many very expensive blockchain projects are now solving this problem with a blockchain.
Central database, it's faster and cheaper.
Yeah, and I just don't think the truck driver is a hacker. I just don't think the agricultural guy, the guy with the farm, is a hacker, or the diamond miner or whatever. And again, if you lie to the blockchain, if you put bad data in it, it's going to be permanent bad data. The blockchain is not a checker. It's not measuring how much gasoline or if it's an organic farm or whatever. It's just bad data goes in, bad data comes out. So it's been a big puzzle to me, but hundreds of millions of dollars, finance people, I must be wrong. But I'll wait it out and see how it goes, you know. So.
There are good projects in targeting this space. Kadena also, it's a very, from technical perspective, very solid project. I just hope they will pivot to other end user.
Is that, sorry, Cardano?
No, Kadena.
Kadena.
Kadena. Yeah.
So much new stuff.
Yeah, well, we are like early guys. We take a look at stuff which has not been released yet. Yeah.
Totally. Well, very cool. Where can people learn more about Rockaway Blockchain?
It's rockawayblockchain.com.
There you go.
Or just visit us. So Dusan is going to DEF CON.
Yeah, we are at out of events. I'm going to Osaka tomorrow for DEF CON.
You will speak.
San Francisco Blockchain.
What is the topic you will speak about in DEF CON?
Governance of decentralized protocols.
Excellent. And so you're looking for companies. So if people have traction, they have an idea, they could bring it to you or send it to you, get an evaluation, see if you guys are an investor.
I think if people are developing solutions on DeFi, we are very interested. Feel free to approach us. We are very happy to talk with you.
And we are
also
all
provide a feedback.
We are all computer science guys and entrepreneurs. So after the investment, we help with European expansion.
Yeah.
That's great. And we've talked earlier about how approachable everyone is. And it's great to hear that even VC could be approachable, even, investments that could really help your company and change your life. You just got to get out there, put your information up. If you have a good company, if you guys match up, it could work out.
I think there is a general misconception that VCs are not approachable. Actually, I don't know how.
It might start with the suits. I don't know.
That's why we are dressed like this.
Yeah, I know you guys look very casual and comfortable today, so I like it. But
yeah, maybe if there is a guy in suit versus a guy in hoodie.
It's a little problem, different culture. But then even then, when they make the hoodie guys go on TV, they always wear a tie or they wear some nice slacks or something. So,
but it's interesting because so to open a bank account for a blockchain fund, and our fund is on Cayman Islands, and we are based in Czech Republic. 24 banks said no to us, because either we are on Cayman, or we do blockchain, so they don't understand it, or we are from Czech Republic, which sounds a bit like Chechnya, and then they ask if there is still war ongoing. And so with Dusan, we went together.
But it's actually not funny. Yeah, it really happens.
Yeah. Sure. No.
Yeah, I mean.
It's just terrible that it does still happen. Though.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? Many years, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, so
it's interesting to hear VCs are affected by the same problem that might affect maybe a marijuana business in the US. You just can't get a bank account, or a crypto business anywhere. You just can't get a bank account, and you're trying to be on the up and up. You're trying to follow the regulations. You can't even get in the door opening an account. You know?
So interesting story was that we then visited banks in Switzerland, because we are close and we can build relationships. Like really good things. And then we dressed up nicely, so we had like shirts, and we bought suits. We went to Zara and bought some because. And then we were sitting there. We were sitting there, and the banker had some question, and Dusan took his computer from his bag with plenty of stickers, like Ethereum and to the moon sticker, and then the banker's like, "Oh shit, no bank account for you."
Well, and it's funny because in the hacker culture, it's the opposite thing. Don't trust anyone who has a laptop with no stickers.
Yeah, exactly.
They have lots of stickers. Oh, they must be one of the thing. But you gotta watch for that with the banks. It's getting worse and worse. And even I heard New Zealand, maybe New Zealand or Australia, where somebody had a Bitcoin sticker on their laptop, and that was a huge problem. So maybe they were gonna check his laptop and everything. So it's starting to be your stickers exposed maybe too much. You want to just get some cartoon stickers or something.
Yeah, actually, I am always waiting for people to stop me at the airport. But for me, it has never happened really. And I'm surprised. I'm waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
Still.
I always
And what
feel
is-
so embarrassed. I want to flip my laptop upside down in the scanner. I'm like,
Yeah.
just don't look.
Yeah.
It's an art project. Don't look at my art
But
project.
sometimes what happened to you is that we go often to the US for conferences, and
Sure.
once at the border you said that you were going to visit the
Yeah.
crypto
That was
conference,
a big mistake.
Okay.
and then they
Oh,
got you
no.
separate and like full body scan and
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
you know,
Exactly. This is
undress
what
yourself,
happened.
clothes
You
off.
just say
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
I like internet security. And if they come to me, they're like, "Oh, it's a hacker conference." I was like, "Well, I want to learn from the best and do the
Yeah.
best for my
But
company." You know, like
you know what? The girl was really interested, and I thought like she's genuinely interested, but she
Yeah.
was faking
Oh, no,
it really
she's
bad.
fishing for it.
No,
You're
you
like,
fell for her, man. You fell.
I fell for it so easily.
classic,
it's-
classic
it's-
spy technique.
And it's
Yeah.
happened in New Zealand, hasn't it? Where they've said,
that's the crackdown,
yeah, New Zealand, Australia, they're saying, right, you've got to open your phone up, open your file
And then
system
people
up,
are
and
like,
have a
"Well, I'm
look."
not going to New Zealand anymore." They just
Yeah.
marked it off, which is sad because they have all the Hobbit
Yeah.
stuff and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Just
And same
I'm interested
same
now.
Tel Aviv Ben Gurion Airport. So once they did like a scanner of my laptop, and then the machine beeped. And now every time I go to Tel Aviv, I'm like randomly selected for a security check. Yeah.
Well, they have fantastic
blacklist.
security over there. It's completely different than the theater we have in the U.S. They have actual security,
Yeah.
so I respect that. But yeah, it's too bad you're on that list
Yeah.
because you're not getting off.
It's okay.
But
I have nothing to hide.
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you guys so much from Rockaway Capital and
Yeah.
Rockaway Blockchain.
Thank you for
Thank you so
hosting.
very
much.
cool.
No
Yeah.
worries. And any last message you want to get across?
Yeah, to the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. To the moon.
Brilliant.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
you on.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Very interesting stuff. Thank you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you guys. Cheers.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 bars. Day bars.
Day bars.
Oh, they'll be closed.
Marmont.
Valmont.
Valmont.
Awesome. Cool.
Very good. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care.
All right, Dan. I think the video's working.
Yeah, this is
we've got
pretty
about 18 people watching us.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't been able to really tweet about it much or try to attract a larger crowd. So make sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Maybe say something in the chat room now and again. It's been a little slow, but maybe we'll be joined by Constantine. You want to come down? Just say hello to the people and hang out.
How's it going?
I'll see if. Well, you better appear
You
now
have to
because
talk
you have to
yourself,
tell
man.
your interesting story again.
Yeah.
Come
Which
on
one do you
down.
want to tell?
Get a microphone, turn it on, and
So,
say hello.
Hello,
to the
everyone.
people.
so what, Constantine? What do you do in crypto?
In
Well,
crypto,
not in crypto.
I program basically.
Yeah.
So whatever the customer asks is kind of
Oh,
what you do, right?
Very good. So you program, and what do you work, John? Dan, I don't know how you survive in this world, Dan. It's very difficult. Like I try to keep an eye on you, and I can't even give you a drink. So, and it's a non-alcoholic soda, but
It's Club Mate Cola, right?
Yeah.
it's really bubbly apparently.
Very, very bubbly.
Yeah, you have to get used to it.
Oh, jeez. Yesterday, I leaned on what I thought was a table or counter, and it was actually, for some reason, a piece of wood on a seesaw, and it was counterbalanced by
Badly,
some lady's-
horribly balanced.
horribly balanced. So she had like a glass of water, so a laptop in the middle and a glass of water on the side. I leaned on the other side, and it just, all over the laptop, the MacBook. She wasn't happy, but they didn't warn me about the table.
Well, the hackers around here can't really build great tables. Even this one here is a piece of metal stacked on some cardboard. So I'd be careful with that one too before we even start. But so Constantine, what have you been working on lately? I know.
Non-blockchain stuff.
Yeah.
So
no?
not really interesting.
Not that interesting to the crypto crowd. Do you want to tell your classic story about Purse?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Uh,
And it's old news, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, I
Did we
think
put all of that past?
I think it's interesting. But I don't know. What was the other thing you were talking about? That was good too. Anything else? I don't remember what it was.
I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Actually, I wanted to come here because I thought Max would still be here.
Oh,
And I didn't get the chance to kind of ask my question when he was doing his talk.
What
So-
question would you have asked him?
Whether or how Bitcoin development might change, or what the applications which are built on top of Bitcoin might change, considering that since his talk was mainly on signatures, right? And since we always have the signature size, which is important to whatever fits into the transaction, and with scriptless script and Taproot, we kind of instead that you have to actually look for how expensive is the stuff I'm doing. You have like an upper limit, right? Since everything could get aggregated into one signature and stuff, you can actually be wasteful with whatever verification you might have to do later.
Yeah.
Since you always only have to present, like, let's say, the happy path to a condition of a transaction, which enables you to do stuff differently than you did before. For example, what I was thinking about was, let's say, coin join, and you have 5 participants, and you might have the scenario where 1 or 2 might go offline or even stop cooperating, and then you still have a subset of, let's say, 3 people who still want to do a coin join and who are honest, and they might start a new one just with the 3 of them.
Right.
And that's something like right now would be a step you do afterwards, which you could now just do in the first place. That you kind of think like, what is every scenario on who might drop out, and already prepare for it and kind of put it in the initial kind of transaction.
So you're very much interested in the privacy side of Bitcoin then,
Yeah.
and coin joins. Yeah, it seems to obviously it's a very, very common theme here.
Do you
at
have a
HCP.
Samurai wallet?
No, I don't really use Samurai Wallet.
Is that an iOS problem? Because that's where I am.
I think it's probably because I'm coming. I used to be with Mycelium. Lots of great stories with Mycelium as well. And during that time, I was working with David Kravis for the Coin Shuffle one, which obviously never kind of got actually implemented completely. And we also lost Travis kind of to Satoshi Vision.
Madness, yeah.
Oh.
But
Yeah,
that's kind of why I have always an interest in privacy, coin joining, and all that stuff.
Well, mixing's always been a cool idea, and it's always been worth trying, and there's been different implementations. They seem very serious about it at Samurai. I hope that it works out and they complete it, and that they get the right, the large numbers of people, the normal people, just the push button people.
Right.
That's what we need. So.
Agree.
So, what are you most excited about, or what talk have you enjoyed most at the conference so far, and what talk are you excited about?
So I think the most surprising for me was I'm not sure what his name is, Lee. He was talking about privacy with decentralized identity, which was in the institute. And what I found pretty cool that he kind of mid-talk presented 2 apps. One was Maskbook, and the other one was TeslaCube. And the main idea was like, we're likely not going to switch our social networks, because main reason is all of your friends are on Facebook. Same for WhatsApp. That's why you probably will not change completely to Signal, because all your friends are not there.
Yeah,
sure.
Right? And then he said it's easier to kind of use, let's say, PGP or encryption in general, and just use that on top of Facebook. So he has like a browser extension, Maskbook, which would just see that you puts your encryption key in your profile, and if you message someone who also uses this extension, it would automatically encrypt it and pass the ciphertext in there.
But ultimately, Facebook would still be able to see the
No,
information.
it would just see the ciphertext, but just the person who's kind of the recipient, for him, it would automatically.
Gobbledygook, and then but it's translated.
Right. For him, it would automatically be translated.
That's a cool concept.
It is, and he kind of used the same one and built a keyboard app for your phone. So if you use WhatsApp, whatever, and you're texting a friend, for example, it would automatically encrypt it and passed on WhatsApp or I don't know which channel, just a ciphertext. And on the other side, he would automatically with his keyboard be able to decrypt it.
Interesting. That's really cool.
And that was
that
a
means
cool
you
spin.
you could literally use you could kind of use Facebook and be almost anonymous, because everything would be encrypted.
Right.
And what's nice is you could still see all your friends' normal pictures and
Yes.
stuff. It would still be there.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I think it only works for text, right?
Well, you should be. I know you should. You can encrypt pictures. Surely it's all it's an algorithm that calculation.
Right.
Right.
It would take longer to decrypt them. I don't know. The page loading, user experience might be a problem. But
it's true. But soon. Once
Soon.
Is that so? What? And any other that you're looking forward to?
I was looking forward to what was Young Park O.
It's
the
from
North Korea, yeah.
Right. I thought he's on right now, but I guess
I think
I'm not seeing
Traven
him now.
Traven was saying he didn't. He got stopped.
He had
at the
travel
airport or something.
problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Traveling to a hacker conference can also always be a problem. Definitely don't say that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think every year there's someone missing, right? Last year it was Cody Wilson.
Yep.
He was also kind of stopped. What was it, a day or two before?
I think he had his arrest and his whole troubles, and now he's not with the project anymore, and no one's heard of him since. So, but I'm sure he's safe and all that. He's not disappeared, but had some troubles. He did.
Word of warning: don't say you're going to a crypto conference or mention Bitcoin
Or that you're printing guns.
or you're printing guns. Oh yeah, obviously.
Or the whole underage women or whatever else Cody Wilson was into. All that stuff. It's his business.
Oh yeah, of course.
I think that's what he was on.
Motivation.
I think that's what it was. But yeah.
So did you guys listen to any talks?
Oh no, we've been here in the fishbowl.
We did catch some of Travin's when we were fishing around.
Yep, when we met the Breaking Bad people.
Yeah.
They gave us the blue Jello.
Oh, that was pretty good.
The last thing I ate today.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah.
But
that was tasty,
now we're just hanging out down
yeah,
here.
it's actually quite nice. It was like what alcohol was it?
Vodka.
Vodka, I'm sure.
Was it vodka?
Jello
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it.
No, there wasn't a lot of vodka in it.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't seem that way.
Well, it sounds like Ryan says the video works. Yeah, Ryan, it's working now. But earlier we tried Open Broadcaster, and it just shit the bed all over the place. Horrible expression. But yeah, no, I was sitting here. Damn you, Germany, keeping Ryan from us. Maybe next time. But yeah, we needed a better encoder or better something. It worked for 5 minutes. It stopped for 20. It was just I don't know if it's a computer problem or a settings problem or whatever. But we're onto the Zoom now, so we have less features and functions and bells and whistles, but the thing works. Put your drink on the table before you spill it. 5 minutes from now, you kick that over. So, from the future.
So you had technical issues.
Yeah, we had technical issues. Then we fixed it. Now we're having audience issues because the audience doesn't believe us anymore.
Right.
They think that we're a bunch of crying wolf. Like, we have a live stream, and they're like, those skipping bastards.
Yeah.
And then they give us another try, and we fail them then. So maybe tomorrow the audience will believe. Maybe we'll stick with this Zoom thing, and maybe it'll just work the whole time. But either way, I think we need more lunch breaks, more dinner breaks. We need more crew, staff. We used to have a guy named Theo. We used to have a guy named Max. And I don't know what happened to them, but they've never been in this basement today. So we just keep going forever. And that used to be a great way to get viewers, is to have a really nice long live stream and to get a lot of thumbs up, and then people would tweet about you. But then a lot of people won't give you thumbs up and they won't tweet about you. And they think that people have already heard. But like every time you do something new, you need people to share it.
Right. You always need to share the gospel.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that aren't sharers, or that maybe got shared, or they got help once and they forgot. And they're like, no, I did it all myself. I'm the only one that made me popular. And maybe it wasn't that way. Maybe other people helped you become popular and now you're giving them shit. So, you know, there's a lot of that going on out there, but I don't have time because I've got books to write and I got to sign books and I got steak to eat. So, you know, it's busy, but.
So what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Monday when I go to that bank and try to get my ATM card back. Although I don't know that I'm ever going to bother.
I think that gets destroyed,
I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just giving it up. But yeah, I had a fun time with the banks this morning. So I needed some crazy Czech currency because, you know, I wanted to eat in a cafe or something, God forbid. And so I go to the ATM. The first roll, it says, do you want $3,000 worth of Czech currency? I was like, 3,000 seems like too much. I was looking for more $200, $300. Second roll, $2,000 in Czech currency. I'm overestimating. Why does this ATM machine have even an option for 2,000? I thought it would be more 100, 200. I miscalculated on my button.
Went with the Euronet one,
the third time, it said, you've waited too long. We're taking your card and giving it back to the bank. And I was like, how is that a problem for waiting? I mean, I guess they thought that I'd left. and they don't have a motion detector or a light reader or anything else. Because I stood right in front of the machine, and yeah, it sucked in my card, and my ATM card's gone forever, and I won't be able to get money in all the other places where I need cash money, which is really only Budapest and Romania, which presumably both have different currencies. So we'll see how much fun that'll be. I have some euros. Maybe I can make some trades.
Well, I got money last night from the general Bytes machine.
Only Czech currency. I still need Budapest and Romania.
But you can find an ATM there. a Bitcoin
ATM. Yeah. We'll see.
There's actually 100 in Prague. So someone said. I think 100.
Where?
I'm sure. Yeah. 180 crypto ATMs.
I blame Martin. It must be General Bytes putting them up like Johnny Appleseed, bringing down that nasty fiat currency with that good old Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what else is going on, Dan?
Well, so I think we've basically covered hardly anyone off the list. That's because we've been down half the time when people.
Some of this has worked though. No, we got a lot of people off the list. The sponsor guys came down.
There's a lot of sponsor guys.
Talked to the sponsor guys, which is really important. And I know everyone hates everything commercial, and certainly, God forbid, I'm not going to put a Bitcoin address up for you to donate because I know you won't donate. But it's not even worth asking anymore. But yeah, I really do like to support the sponsors of the conference I go to. I think it's important that they sponsor the conference, whether they be VCs or programmers or normal guys or ATM makers. It's great to sponsor your local conference. And when we attend them, I like to support them, ask them some good questions, see what kind of things they're building. So we did some of that today. That was fun. We had Paul Rosenberg came by from Crypto Hippie. We talked to Smuggler as well.
Yeah.
It's getting
Samurai Wallet as well.
Samurai Wallet. That's a big interview. And we just did that for the second time. The second and probably only exclusive interview with Samurai Wallet. It's getting pretty nice here, being here for the third year and doing things like, I know it's really interesting. I don't know Smuggler, but I've talked to Smuggler 3 times now. And each time he's super interesting and I like talking to him. And it's pretty fun to have that experience of going to a conference 3 years in a row, doing the live couch, through all the audio and technical problems as well, but also getting to have the conversations and have the chats. We also had a nice chat with Paul Rosenberg, who we talked to 3 years in a row now as well. So that's pretty fun. Samurai 2 years in a row. We talked to the Rockaway Capital guys. That was interesting. Of course, Simple Coin with the Breaking Bad marketing and the check exchange. I talked to those guys last year too. Thanks to them for supporting the show, both this year and last year, supporting the conference here. And talked to Exiled Surfer about Bitcoin Foundation and some of the early days.
Very interesting story.
Very interesting stuff. And what was great about that is that he was on the other side of that. I mean, I was watching the Bitcoin Foundation from the outside, but he was there working on the technical problems. And it was a great story. Constantine, he came and he said, we've got a problem. We need you to transfer the domain names over to us. And he's like, why do we need to do that? They're like, because Mark Karpellis registered them all and Mt. Gox had just went down. And what a time for the Bitcoin Foundation. One day you're working with Mark Karpellis, the big CEO of Mt. Gox, and you're working with Charlie Shrem, the big CEO of BitInstant. And the next moment, the disgraced CEO of Mt. Gox and the unfortunate Charlie Shrem. And just to see that shift, and then as an organization having to deal with that, and then having your funding, go from $300 a coin or $1,200 a coin right back down to $200 a coin, having to plan through that budgetarily. They weren't prepared for it, and it hit them like a wave. And the Bitcoin Foundation's history now. But it was an interesting, I think, well-meaning idea. It's tough because it's a centralized thing attached to a decentralized thing, and we saw the way that the B Foundation blew up and failed. And sadly, nice people working on it and all that, but good riddance. Good riddance.
Okay, so I can see the value in having a form of centralization if it's defending Bitcoin. But then even as in, just the ability to for example, shut down bad actors
you see, there you go. You can't have anything that shuts down bad actors. That's completely unacceptable. You've already gone over the line.
The more fraudulent ones.
It does. You have to decide who's
putting.
Bad,
Dan.
Where are you putting the line? Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
No, you're right.
Right on it. And it was funny because we actually had one. They had I'm blocking the name now. Perian Borings Institute, the It was the whatever crypto lobbying fund. And it started out, it was very much the Bitcoin lobbying fund, but it just drifted and drifted and drifted. And now they're arguing for the rights of tokens and the whatever. And we saw the same thing with the Bitcoin Foundation. And that's the problem with a lot of these institutions, even if they're chartered with a good idea and they're trying to support something that we like or something that you're supportive, it can drift the way that WikiLeaks drifted. Originally, wiki meaning open and free, the Hawaiian, well, it's Hawaiian word for quick, but it was like Wikipedia. It was open leaks, and they would just leak data. And then it became more selectively publishing leaks and politically timing leaks, and it became more questionable as if they were just committed to opening data or if they were a political organization targeting people. So
right, selecting kind of what they would actually release
exactly
based on, am I being hosted by this nation, country, or something like that?
There it is. And that's the problem with everything is bias, and the way that bias injects itself into things, and people having hidden motives, and you work for this or you work for that, or you work for yourself. You can never tell what people's real motives are.
I guess your own agenda is the hardest one to ignore, right?
And the one that you can't see.
So
you can act
confirmation
without
bias,
it.
you know,
Yeah,
that's why it's so difficult for people to grasp like alternatives sometimes, because they see something, they just, you know, they latch onto it, and they don't see the negatives, they only see the positives, or, you know, when it actually happens.
Right.
So hits, they don't see their hits, misses, they see their hits.
So how long has your stream been going for?
Jeez, I don't know. So
I think it's been working for at least 6 hours.
yeah,
I think it was broken for 2, but working for 6. But we don't get any credit for the 6 because we broke it for 2 first.
Right.
So maybe tomorrow we'll get some credit for if things work. And I miss Open Broadcaster. I had some nice graphics. I bought a little stream box that switches the streams. It worked at home, and it worked in testing this morning, and then it stopped working. and we what's great though, no one cares, but we've got backups. This amazing new board that I bought, thanks to donations from the audience, has a backup recording card. So I have good audio for everything we've done these last 2 days. So I will be uploading some kind of podcast or a YouTube video with a still image for that. Also, Open Broadcaster is supposed to write the video files to the computer, but I'm not sure if that worked. So we might have some very skippy video that I could put with the audio, or I'll just put a graphic and we'll have some nice podcasts. A lot of people listen to this anyway, which drives me crazy because I love the video and I want to capture the video, and I think video is historic and it brings you in. I like looking at the people I'm talking about and to. But then it's also, as a user, you know, it's great to have a podcast. You can work with your hands, you can clean some dishes, you can do some other stuff.
Video can be quite distracting.
It
I,
can
for
be.
example, usually listen to it on the Autobahn, which is not really the great place to kind of take your eyes off the road.
Yes.
No,
video
no,
so much.
not.
No,
Well,
I think it's good. It's good. I'll let you know, podcasts as well. If you want to go to bed but you want to drift off to something, you can just listen to it rather than having to watch and your eyes, you know, slowly getting tired. Yeah.
I don't really use it for a nighttime story.
Oh,
I don't
drift off
know.
to boring stuff.
Yeah, the problem is sometimes the boring stuff gets interesting, or
Yeah.
even the worst movie, I usually have to stay up to see the ending of it. But more and more, I can fall asleep sometimes. But I think we might put this stream to sleep for a little while. If anyone else had come down who wanted to host the stream, like Max or Theo, we could have handed it off and kept it going. Or if other people from the past hadn't all disappeared and gone their own way. But pretty much, I think I need to eat food. I skipped lunch and had a small breakfast. So I'm out of energy, and I'm going to go eat some food. Maybe we'll come back. I'm pretty sure they're going to lock down this area soon. I don't think there's going to be a big night broadcasting rush, which was funny because I was here early, ready to work. I was here all day, ready to work. And then we worked a little.
I think you know, we've had a
something
good
done.
day. I think we
But,
solved the problems.
Yeah, I think the video and audio works now. No one cares. But it's great. We fixed that one. And I'm one ATM card less. It was a signed collector's edition I brought all the way here from Las Vegas.
Signed collectors.
Signed by myself.
Oh,
Yeah. There's only one of them. It's obviously a collector's edition.
Right,
It's numbered, even serialized, if you will. And
it's been so long since I've actually signed the cards. I don't even bother.
oh well, welcome to the U.S. and welcome to being the U.S. and Europe. It's like everywhere I go, they're collecting my signature, which is funny because 6 to 8 months ago I read an article saying that most people sign them with pictures of penises. So they were going to get rid of that whole alleged security feature because no one cares. You write a big circle and no one cares. But it's still here. The credit card companies move so slowly they can't even get rid of a security feature that does nothing.
But you have is contactless quite ubiquitous in the US?
No.
Is it still
and
signing?
The fancy travel card that I paid more for didn't come with contactless. While my brother got the cheaper card or free card that came with contactless. So I don't know. I can't get a contactless card to save my life. Actually, the ATM card that was eaten was a contactless card, but I never knew it because only recently I learned that if you look on the back of your card, it has a little like a Wi-Fi kind of a signal that means that it's contactless. But then I also got that fun Apple card recently, and that's not contactless either, if you can believe that. Brand new, magical, titanium metal Apple card, not contactless. And this is one of the best things for our 5 people that are left with us here hanging out on the end of the stream. I think you'll get a real kick out of this. Here's the Apple card. I'm not afraid to show it to you because there's no number on the thing at all. It says my name that you already know, and it says Goldman Sachs, which I'm not crazy about. But oh yeah, well, you got to try out the Apple card. You got to keep up on the old opponents.
It is decent.
It's metal. Yeah, it's titanium.
So this is in replace. It's just a Visa.
This is basically not enough people were using Apple Pay on their phone.
Yeah.
So they made a card to go with Apple Pay. And now right now I'm using the card, but I'm sure in the future they'd prefer if I just use the phone. And one of the interesting things that it had is this great feature where it said, change all Apple things to Apple Pay card. So I pushed that the other day. And of course, all of my subscriptions to Apple, my App Store apps. And in addition, it turned out it changed my Uber payment method as well to Apple Pay card. So I thought that was a cool feature that never thought someone would be able to offer. None of the credit card companies own a phone company, change it to the Visa phone apps. But it's been an interesting thing trying out the Apple card. And everyone's complaining I have a credit card. Whatever, you have to have expenses. You have to have, and especially in the wonderful world of streaming, you often don't have any money. So it's better to live on the card than to live on nothing. So
I actually, for the first time, bothered to use Google Pay because I was forced to. Fortunately, I broke my phone, loaded up all of my cards onto the new phone. Just for some reason, for the first time I did it, forgot my wallet at home, so I have no cards with me. I got to the airport and I bought that little DJI camera, and which I haven't used yet because I've been sat in the fishbowl. But this has been way more fun. And I thought to myself, it's like it's a couple £100, but a bit more. And I thought, I'm going to be rejected. Like, it's contactless. There's no way it's gonna. And it literally, I took it. I'm Amex. It took my payment, and it was for more than £30 or £40 the limit. And so it's actually really quite useful, to be honest. Yeah. It's worth loading them up.
I think we might try for one more guest. Constantine, thanks for hanging out. Maybe you can go bring back Martin from upstairs. I saw him down there. So get another guest going. But thank you, Constantine.
Thanks for coming on.
We'll see you around conference a little bit.
Cool, yeah. See you in a bit.
All right. So everyone give us a thumbs up and a share. I swear the thumbs up button must be broken. It says there's one.
I think it's me.
Well, I think we have maybe 10. We might have 10 thumbs up and 17 people watching, but we're going to go ahead and pound out one more interview here because who needs dinner? Who needs lunch? Who needs any of these things? I actually decided a long time ago I was just going to meditate through this whole thing, but you get more negative when you don't eat. I think it's an angry thing. So here he is. He's got the big blue suit. Oh, he's going to stall. Oh, he wants us to stall. Well, I'm going to have to tell stories about him. So
yeah, go for it.
The next guest has more energy than Robin Williams. He's going to run around the room. Last time he had a Bitcoin suit on. Now he's got a blue suit on. It's the Robin Williams of cryptocurrency. Here's got to turn your microphone on. It's the trick. I regret buying the ones with switches now very much. But I don't know. they're so useful. It's like this one, nice, off and dead. But then whenever anyone uses one, they have to turn it on. I don't know. Martin, no one's watching, but welcome to the.
This is like a year ago, right?
Yeah, this is the bear market. The price went down. All those things.
Do you still have your Fiat suit? Because that was my favorite.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the dollar bill suit.
People were making fun of it, but
it's amazing,
you know, I was crypto conference. I was wearing the Fiat suit.
Yeah.
I had to explain that, you know, put the Fiat in the machine, and we give you very expensive Bitcoin back.
Yes,
That's
well, not very expensive.
So you actually, you know, you got a whole thing going here. You got the arts.
Yeah, but you can't.
Minor.
It looks very nice until you realize you could never leave.
Yeah.
Well, here. Oh, you're stuck in the fishbowl here.
No, we're here all day. And then the fishbowl thing, you're like, oh, they gave us glass walls. That's fantastic. How like futuristic, like a television studio. But then we have the cameras pointed at the black wall, so you never see it. And all it really means is 1,000 distractions around you.
Yes. We had a table and a couch there last year, no?
Yeah, there was, and they had the silent disco.
That was fun. That was a nice idea.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to that.
That was cool because you know, more people congregated around.
Yeah,
and we were then therefore more likely to have people stopping by.
And then you could hear it. You could walk all over the conference with the headphones, and you could listen to us. Yeah, that was a cool idea. I don't know.
I like these microphone flags. Those are new.
Yeah, we got a couple of those working on them.
Very pro, yes.
Well, it's technically just a few stickers on a box.
Plastic, yeah.
But it no one,
no one knows you can buy those on Amazon. Don't tell people.
I used to get them at makeflags.com, and they have like they were like triangle shaped. And you could print something, but that you know.
Oh, gee, well,
I had all the equipment. I just didn't have the talent to actually.
That's next level.
I've heard it before. People they build a whole podcasting studio. And then they find that they can't podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just
0 friends.
Yeah, you just go down there and talk. You know, you just talk for a while. But
you got a new camera as well.
Triple camera.
It worked. Yes. It worked, but it didn't work. I mean, when we had OBS running, I had it where we were doing a left shot with one, a right shot with the other, and a center shot with a middle one. And I really thought it was going to work, but then Open Broadcaster failed on our video and frustrated us a lot. So now we're back to Zoom. We got the one camera. We could switch it if people wanted to, but it's like work. You have to click buttons, and it doesn't change it that much.
You actually have viewers now.
Yeah.
It
was a struggle with all the cutouts.
A couple of guys that stuck with us through the cutouts. Yeah, everybody else.
Thank you very much. That's dedication.
Out of here, but yeah, tomorrow hopefully they'll believe us again. They'll be like, they're not crying wolf on the live stream. They really have one now.
We might have to do a test live stream first. That's just
we did a test live stream. We did 5. It died anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We got to do the serious interview so I can go eat chicken before they stop selling it.
Which could be a whole list of things, man. I got a whole list of things. It's been a year, so it's
been a year. And again, thanks to Max for being here.
Yes.
He's going to ask you some real hard questions. We've got Martin from General Bytes, the Bitcoin ATM creators. They make Bitcoin ATMs. They put them out, and they also make the systems here that you can pay with.
Correct. Point of sale.
Now, last year, Max was needling you. Those payment systems. They took Bitcoin. They took Litecoin, but they didn't take Lightning. So let's just start right there.
The way he said it was different. It's like, you waste too much time on the shit coins. That just really, you know, it hurt me.
The voice of the youth screaming at you like the Greta, a bit of a Greta there. Yeah.
It was pretty much beta, you know. It's still beta, but we got Litecoin support going now on the ATMs.
Lightning support.
Sorry, did I say Litecoin?
Yes, you did. I want to make sure because they'd be like, we don't care about that. No, they care about Lightning.
Yes, Lightning support on the ATMs, on the point of sale terminals. It's two-way Litecoin support, or Lightning support, but it is not enabled yet, the two-way Lightning support.
Okay.
We're still testing that.
So you could buy Lightning Satoshis and you could sell Lightning Satoshis eventually.
Yeah, right now, when you sell your crypto at the ATM, you really have to wait until it's confirmed. But, you know, in the future, you just sell blink your eyes and.
Well, I actually did it last night, and it said 45 minutes, and I thought, oh, sod it, I'll check in like 15, and it was ready. So I was like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
And that keeps the expectations. You know, if people expect to wait for 45 minutes, and you serve them within 15, then the user experience is good. If you tell them 15 and it takes 45 minutes, they'll be kicking and screaming at the machine. It's a scam. So
and that's just why Scotty always used to multiply his repair time by a factor of 4. That's how you get the reputation of being a miracle worker.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a good system. Dan said they send you a text message, then you know when you need to come back. So you could go get a cup of coffee, get dinner, come back, pick up your cash from the machine. Not like you'd have to sit there and wait. They're just going to shoot out your cash randomly. And if you weren't watching, or if you weren't number 15 in line, you wouldn't get your money. But
it reserves the money it will give out to you.
Yes.
But this whole waiting process, the waiting for the coins to arrive on it does break the user experience.
It does.
But with Lightning, it's like instant. It's more like what we expect from an ATM. And you know, if we want to change the world and get rid of fiat and banks, then we should at least make the experience better.
It's a difficult value proposition, isn't it? When you're saying we've got this new better money, but it takes 40 minutes or whatever to use. And although there's a mountain of benefits.
Sure,
but the the user wants, like, they want Apple Pay, they want done. They want that tap.
Which is totally centralized and tracks everything you do. Actually, Apple Pay
Red Bull machine, by the way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
We had the Red Bull machine. And the first previous Red Bull machine, we got the Red Bull machine, and we on our own expense, we like modified it, added the same computer we use in the ATMs. But Red Bull didn't really have anything to do with it. But this time, they gave us a new machine, and they actually purchased the Bitcoin module for it to make it compatible with Lightning. We also added like some LEDs. So if you select like the pink grapefruit flavor, then the LEDs will turn pink, or so it, like, it'll make the experience a bit better. So that was cool. So that's Lightning enabled too. I think this is the use case for crypto, or especially Lightning, is vending machines. There's so much money transferred, just for vending machines, coins, stacks of dollars. It's ridiculous.
Someone has to come and pick it up. Someone has to take it away. The dollar never works in the reader. You always have to straighten it out and everything.
And this I think, it's few satoshis, you can just send it instantly, and you don't realize the benefits of the Lightning Network until you've used it. Sure, there is a hiccup every now and then, but that's, we found some problems in wallets. I'm not going to mention that on the show, because I think those wallets will sort themselves out, and it will all work within a few months. But that's why I encourage everybody to use Lightning, see what it's all about. It will probably take away the use case for many, many, many of the altcoins, because their only benefit was like, we have 3-second block time, or, something ridiculous.
TBS, high TBS.
That's and the fact that Red Bull was actually excited to participate in this project. Red Bull is different. They're always very upfront with like sponsoring crazy sports, and they're always into new stuff.
Extreme accounting.
The time that guy
accounting.
Remember that guy jumped from space or whatever it was? That was a Red Bull thing. Yeah.
They also sponsored that. Sorry, continue.
I was just curious. So, because obviously you do accept Litecoin as well. Are you able to say what the difference is in Bitcoin is like 75%, Litecoin 5%?
I found that like Bitcoin is like popular everywhere in the world. Our ATMs, we sell Bitcoin ATMs. Nice socks, by the way. Did you see the socks? Yes.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is like king of the hill with volume and acceptance, but every country has their own flavor of favorite altcoin. In the Netherlands, it's we don't like the Bitcoin, but we love the blockchain. Actually, they mean Ethereum and creating tokens on it, so they toy around with it. But Bitcoin is still king of the hill here. Bitcoin and Litecoin. Why Litecoin? I think primarily once, it was in 2017 that the fees got crazy.
Yeah.
So you pay what, $3 for coffee, and you pay what, $2 in transfer costs fees. So that didn't really work. So there was a use case for Litecoin. I think with Lightning,
if Litecoin had been as popular as Bitcoin was, the Litecoin fees would have went up as well. So it was a temporary use case,
yes.
And it was because of these things. Because I know Roger Ver, at one time he got, I don't know if he still has $1 million, but he had $1 million and he put it into Dash and he sent it from one wallet to the other. And he celebrated how great Dash was because he could do this. I was like, no one's using Dash.
Yes.
If anyone used Dash, the fees on Dash would be as high as the fees on Bitcoin.
Correct.
This is not demonstrating anything except you can use an unpopular network to make a false point.
That's very true. The moment everybody starts using Litecoin, right now, why do we use Litecoin here to pay for our Jack Daniels or a Red Bull? Is because nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Price is low, transactions are cheap, and the blocks are empty. But if it won't be popular, then we have probably a similar problem as with Bitcoin, except that according to Charlie Lee, I don't think anybody is still developing on Litecoin. It's like totally, it's like,
Charlie Lee seems to be developing a lot of tweets and a lot of the cult's personality on that. That's going pretty well.
Coinbase, didn't he? So
well, he went full time on Litecoin, and they're very excited. Then he dumped at the top. Then he released that roadmap of all the privacy and the secrecy, and it went up again.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that. But the other thing we had to mention there is that you touched on almost. You said it's an old Yogi Berra-ism. He says nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
Yeah.
And that's how it is with the Bitcoin blocks. Nobody goes there.
Well,
crowded.
I'm not like a Bitcoin maximalist, but I wouldn't purchase any other crypto that I hold for longer than a week. I confess I purchased some Litecoin. I just as a backup today, because I just wanted to know. Yeah, we get comments from from.
There was one new one.
Okay.
They come in slow enough for me to read now. It's another one of those not crowded features. You could say anything you want to me right now. I'll listen.
Yeah, that's for that. Well, the last time I saw you in Amsterdam, right? Was it Breaking Bitcoin?
Yeah, we were there.
The last time we met was here.
Yes,
actually. There on that couch.
Other side, very different.
I saw you more recently than that, actually.
I don't go to the conferences a lot.
Yeah.
Well, if I was in Amsterdam, I wouldn't leave either. So get your bicycle, and if you can't go there on bicycle, it's not worth going to. So
if I can't walk it, I'm not going there. So it's it's been a busy year. There's practically no time to attend conferences. I think in early the spring we became the largest manufacturer. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I expected fireworks and the whole world to change, but it's just business as usual.
You didn't even get a gold trophy or a cup or anything.
Nothing.
Oh,
a really nice watch.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that. But it was nice. It's an achievement, I think, in that it was like 6 years of hard work.
Yeah.
I forgot something. 5 years? No, we already had the 5-year cake at the office. So this is the 6th year.
You can only track based upon what was written on the cake. Remember back to the cake.
We had the cake in the shape of an ATM.
Nice.
The same size and not the same weight because it wasn't made of steel, but same size, and it really looked like a Bantam 2, the small yellow ATM.
Oh, that's great.
That was like nice. And we've been developing new application for accounting. We found many of our clients, they have like thousands and thousands of transactions. And we find many traders too have lots of transactions, and it's sometimes like difficult to make sense of it all, like how much profit, loss, unrealized profit.
Sometimes you don't want to know.
Yeah, I know. But how much to pay the taxman? I know it's an unpopular opinion, but a small mistake can cost you like a small fortune. So we're now focused on this a new web app. It's called Every Trade, like in Every Trade.io. We're running a beta. It's bleeding edge beta, so you can try it out. If you have some feedback, let us know. It will gradually expand per region, because if it's accounting, you need CPAs, certified public accountants, to help you with how does tax calculation work, how do the tax calculation work in a certain country. So it's like work in progress, but I think it will really, really help not just our operators, our ATM operators, they will be able to directly import the transactions from the ATM, see at any time they have the graph, they can just look back. It's like, how much was my company worth at that point in time?
Nice.
Profit, loss, everything. They can have different portfolios. But everybody who, even if you just use Bitcoin to purchase coffees, I don't know, nobody does it anymore. We use Lightning for that. But
Well, we do when we're here.
then we use either Litecoin as a shitcoin, or we use Lightning.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin, I don't mind spending Litecoin, but I do mind spending Bitcoin. You know, it's something.
It's just psychological, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have to spend $20 on drinks anyway. It's going to be dollars, Bitcoin, Litecoin. It's going to
Doesn't
be
matter then.
it's some kind of something that I'm spending to get the value.
It's
So
that scary thought of, if I spend, the $5 on this coffee now, is going to be worth $200,000, in the future.
yeah, but I
It's
have
just-
the other scary thought too. It's going to be 20 cents in the
Yeah.
future. I should get my drinks now.
Exactly. Exactly. But also the fact that you then could go one step further and say, well, the money that I could have spent on Bitcoin, I could have gone out. I could have not gone out last night, and that $50 that I spent, I should have spent on Bitcoin, because then that's going to be worth. So
And I could have met
you'd
the
just be in a
most
cycle
incredible
there
woman
of
who
a
has a
spiral
point
of
there.
madness.
I have my own Mycelium wallet, which I recently restored. I don't think many people still use that wallet, but I restored it, and I saw my coffee transactions from 2013 and 14,
Yeah.
and turned out that I paid $50 for a coffee, and I bought a lot of coffees.
Yeah.
So yes,
Well, Jörg Platzer was telling me that I think he said it was roughly 2.5 Bitcoin for a beer and a burger when he first started, and he was the first Room 77, the first bricks and mortar business.
Oh, that will be a sour experience if you think about it now.
Yeah, that's like the longest delay of making your stomach churn, food making your stomach churn.
Well, it's there on both sides. You feel for the guy who bought the burger. You feel, wow, Jorg might have killed it if he held it. But the reality is he has to buy more burgers. I'm sure he had to sell it to get more, materials and those kind of things. You can't always just hold everything. So
yeah, and I think by spending it, we also grow the economy. You know, if we would just be hodlers, all of us, there would be no utility.
It wouldn't have taken off. It wouldn't have been person to person. Giving away, spending it, using it. It's better than talking about it. It's action. It's real.
My first Bitcoins I got from Gavin Andreson, and he was giving away 5 Bitcoins to anybody in an address.
Yeah.
And at one point it got so popular that you had to have 5 Bitcoin per address, per IP address. so you had to limit it a bit.
And what a fun! I play all these stupid games online where you refresh things and try to rig polls, or you mine things for SETI at home or the Boink program. There's kids out there who used to play with Bitcoin faucets, and I bet they retired now.
So, yes.
It's a different game nowadays.
So yeah, we've been busy, and even though we had the bear market, what was it, last year? It didn't really hurt us much because we had many clients that kept expanding. The bear market is a great moment to expand your ATM network because there's less queues at manufacturing, and you get your ATMs faster. So for us, it really helped, getting us through that time. So
and if you believe in this thing, you want to be positioned for the next bull. You have a bunch of ATMs in the street. People have seen them. Then suddenly the media is advertising for us again instead of against. And people are suddenly using your ATMs everywhere.
Correct.
So,
and it's also, I don't really care about the Bitcoin price. Of course, high price is great.
Yeah.
But in the larger, looking at the big picture, we want to make a better financial system. So even if the price is low, eventually it will go up, or at least it will be stable. And not always, but at least we get rid of the old style banks. And I don't think that ever will ever get rid of them. But in the meantime, we see this whole cryptocurrency ecosphere. We see it professionalizing. We had the small ATMs, the yellow ones.
Yeah.
And the big models, the XXL models, they have audited code doors, so that you can get a third party to collect your money, which is
Mhm.
great if you have like ATMs in several states. You won't be able to drive to every one of them, so you need a company that serves them. And they use a company called Sargent and Greenleaf. They made like their world's best ATM locks. They're like used by every bank.
Yeah.
But it was only that our top of the line model would have those locks. But now we made replacement doors for the smaller ATMs. So also operators with like the smaller ATMs are now able to use these type of locks. And this I think is really a sign that the market is maturing. It was a request made by some of our clients, and most of the features we built in, they're all requests from clients, you know. We don't have that great imagination, but our clients using the products, you know, there's like things they don't like or things they'd like to see, and we just edit.
Well, I think that you make a good point about I don't think we will see banks die altogether, but what we will see is banks seeing the advantages of certain parts of their technology, and Bitcoin giving it competition will make, I think, could help, make banks a bit more bearable.
But if you look at Europe right now, I don't know about how much interest you get on a bank account in the US.
Very small,
Yeah,
1 to 2% maybe.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
very
still good, because over here they're thinking about negative interest rates. I mean, negative pay to store money in a bank. I mean, really? So
Or on the plus side, if you have a mortgage, does that mean that you get
free
paid?
money? No, unfortunately, no.
Sake. Banks.
Yeah. I don't have a mortgage. I pay my house with Bitcoin. So no more mortgage. Yeah, that's. But we're all kept hostage by basically failure of our local governments to actually, you know, keep the economy going. And that's the next client, the next show.
Or maybe.
Maybe.
Hopefully we will.
You can stay, Martin. It's
Okay,
cool.
okay,
Hang
cool,
out.
cool,
Hang
cool.
out.
Yeah, cool. Because there's so much stuff on the list.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
Right, so next,
So you got the new locks on the door,
Yeah,
so
got
you're
the new locks
upgrading
on the
the
door.
physical security.
It's Lightning ATMs, it's two-way, which we haven't enabled yet here.
Yeah.
The point of sale terminals too, so you know you can get your coffee within a few seconds.
And the point of sale terminals that they have here, can other people buy those? I've mainly seen them at Paralelní Polis, but
we don't. Our bread and butter is really the ATMs.
ATMs, yeah.
We find that many people, they want to have a point of sale terminal. So
Sure.
I'm sure it would be wrong if we wouldn't be able to do that. And now with Lightning, I think it's a way we can have like in-house or in-club payments, like we have here at Polis. So that's we increase the capacity, or we will increase the capacity of the ATMs too.
Yep.
So right now we know that, especially when the market's picking up, you can't empty those ATMs fast enough. And even though the XSL model had like 2,200 node capacity, this will go up dramatically. So over the next 1-2 years, we'll see bigger machines with more capacity, and you know, when
hopefully more weights, more security, chain it to the wall, bigger target. Yeah,
it's important to improve the security all the time.
And of course, already you can put as much Bitcoin as you want on the ATM. Maybe there's a reasonable limit, but
there's like limits. But
technically, you know, if you had 21 million Bitcoin, you could put them all in one ATM.
Oh, sure.
That would be awesome.
21 million would be like all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
That would be a really good ATM. No one else could use Bitcoin but that ATM. Corner of the market right there.
That's a
piece of cake.
I said every trade, what's the accounting's paying off?
Excellent.
So
and anyone can use that, not just ATM clients or customers.
Like if you're like on Kraken or you exchange, you just make an export of your trades and you import it. I think it's really nice. It's like how much money could I have had if I would have sold at that point in time?
That doesn't sound nice. No.
But normally it's like this big crypto mumbo jumbo with all these addresses and little amounts. And now it becomes clear. It all shows up in a nice little graph.
Yeah.
It's very beta, so there will be dragons, but you know. Thomas, the future is in beta, you know.
Yeah.
Every trade is sacred.
That's we'll more features. Okay, the portfolio holdings, so you can check your profits and loss at any time.
Nice.
We'll we'll have end of year calculations coming soon, which is good for tax.
Yeah.
So we
Excellent.
work with CPAs in all the major regions. We start with Czech Republic because we have a lot of contacts here. Next will be US. We'll get US tax. There's different ways to calculate the tax to be paid. Over here, they use something like average cost unit or average cost accounting. I'm not a very good that's not acceptable in the US. So the CPAs there will help us with that. That's not that we will add invoicing and payroll. So if you have like companies, they're basically like QuickBooks. You know QuickBooks?
Yeah.
And then QuickBooks for crypto. So that's the idea.
QuickBooks.
That's funny. I remember somebody.
QuickBooks. Yeah, I don't think our lawyers would have.
No, not like that. No, that's bad marketing.
Right now it's a website version. It's just really a web app, but we understand that some people really like, have it offline. It's like, trust us, we don't sell your data. I say, yeah. So we will make a standalone version for on the desktop. I think this is like, just gives people peace of mind.
That sounds good.
Safe. And that's, so yes, it's, let me just see. I think I added a lot. Yeah, we keep adding new features.
Yeah.
We'll be adding like the new ATMs with extra capacity.
Would you be adding new coins, or is that unknown at the moment?
That's Max's thing last year. We waste too much time on supporting the shit coins. That was really like, and it just really hurt me. Yeah. But personally, I wouldn't buy anything but Bitcoin. But if we would decide for our clients that, oh no, we think you shouldn't be selling your coin. That's that's okay. Is that are you a toxic maximalist then, or are you just toxic? I don't know. It would be wrong. It would be bad for business.
The free market, isn't it? The whole idea of Bitcoin is that it's a free market. Anyone can join. You can do what you want, permissionless. And so, if people see utility in other stuff, then it's got utility.
Well, I agree with you. You have to open it up and let the market decide.
Yeah, correct.
And we are seeing a bit of a pushback towards Bitcoin only or maximalism, which again is a term invented by Vitalik. You never want to let your opponents label you. So once you've done that, you're into their whole trap, because before then there wasn't even this idea. It was just like, I think Bitcoin's the best. What else you got? And then now it's like, you have to only use it, or you have to run the special Trezor firmware that doesn't allow you to even see that there are altcoins.
The Trezor firmware.
Sense.
They have a Bitcoin only version.
I don't.
A SKYPE version.
Yeah.
I use my Trezor like daily, not for crypto, but for the universal two-factor authentication. So without a Trezor, I can't log into my Dropbox, my Gmail. It's really locked down, or Facebook for that matter. So that's we added ERC20 tokens.
Yeah.
So for the Ethereum guys, we thought it was great. Just after the big Ethereum bust, we added ERC20 tokens. Timing was a bit off.
Timing stuff,
And
so you can buy Ethereum tokens from the ATMs now?
Correct. So any ERC20 tokens, you can add it. And the first one we added ourselves was at the DEFCON 4. That was in Prague in November. We added DAI stablecoin, which is like a stablecoin. I think I don't like the stablecoin because they call stablecoin, but then they're pegged to the US dollar. So what's stable about that? If the US dollar is your base currency, sure. Yeah. But the DAI is like this programmatically adjusting stablecoin, which I think is better than the trust us, the money is in the bank type of stablecoin like Tether. That just doesn't fly with me. So we added DAI during the consensus status.im hackathon at DEFCON 4. Man, these names,
What's going on?
Which was kind of cool, but we find the uptick is not very fast. ERC20 tokens are very easy to implement now. It takes 20 minutes to implement. But we don't do this. We open source all this wallets, rate tickers, exchanges, coins. Those bits of the software are all open source. So if people create their own coin, if you create a WorldCryptoNetwork token, you have compatibility in the ATM.
Well,
give it a chance, really, because I would even...
You can thank me for the ERC 721 collectibles token thing. My project, Curio Cards, is included in there.
Oh,
our
really?
technique for creating the collectibles was later incorporated into the spec.
So,
but our project of creating collectibles was quickly eclipsed by CryptoKitties, which came out after us.
They stole your idea,
But it was a good idea, and a lot of people had it. Baseball cards that were like crypto, and even now, CryptoKitties is actually partnering with the NBA and with the MLB to make baseball cards and basketball cards that are like crypto. So
like the crypto Pepes.
Yeah, and that was a good idea too. And we were in with that too, and the same kind of idea. And the idea is taking off if our company doesn't take off. But I know, I think World Crypto Network, we talked about a token, and certainly I talked about a mad Bitcoin back when there were about 5 or 10 different coins, and it would have been a pretty nice early thing. But we were shouted down so loudly by everyone that it would be a scam and it would destroy our reputation, and having money and having enough money to live on and getting paid for what you do and all those things. That's a scam. You shouldn't do that. So we didn't. And now we don't have enough money to live on. But so that worked well. And all these scammers all made lots of fake tokens and all these ideas, and they have lots of money.
But
so
capture integrity.
Yes.
That's
I know. The end of Cyrano de Bergerac. All that you have left is your soldier's plume, your honor, your honor.
Culturally, I'm as flat as a pancake. Really, I'm just doing crypto.
We'll get you to a museum soon enough.
It will be the first museum in 30 years.
Now that you live, now that I know you live near the best chocolate shop in Amsterdam, we won't be able to keep me away from there and then get you to the museum right after that. So yeah.
I always tell people when they give my business card, it's like it's only printed on one side. That's because we didn't do an ICO.
Nice. We pay for the things we bought. Yeah,
we crypto. If you want to start a crypto company, the trick is just to start small and grow when possible. You know, I see so many of those ICOs where they manage to collect all this money and have 0 products. And then a year later, there's still no products.
Yeah.
And
there's less money.
Yeah. Or they say, well, we need more money.
Yeah, we need more.
To easy money. And we didn't do that. I think it's because we started before the ICOs. But at least we kept our integrity. So, maybe we missed out on the big money. But we have so much fun. So that's what it's all about. I used to work at the bank for 8 years.
I worked for lawyers for 7 years. So
I know what you feel like. To work too.
Yeah.
I was so stressed. I had like stomach aches just from the stress of not liking my job.
Yeah.
And now every day I just start with a smile. It's fantastic.
Well, I always feel like I couldn't talk about anything. If I wanted to say something political, if I was successful and my message was picked up, I was fired. If I was unsuccessful and my message fails, I could keep a job, maybe get fired too if they found out. Yeah, because you just can't have any opinions, and you're kind of a part of the firm, and you want the firm to do well, and you want them to pay you and whatever. But
especially with this, the hunting down of people now, like on social media, you know, it's just they're docs. There's like, you know,
you said something bad on Facebook when you were a kid.
Get them fired. They shouldn't work ever again. Destroy their families. You know, it's a worrying thing.
Like the climate girl.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
did you see the meme with the climate girl? They see the climate girl, and he said, "Look, you stole my money and my sleep with your shit coins." That's what they were going around on Telegram.
Nice. I like the Greta Zilla one where she goes.
I think the poor girl. You know, she's got issues, and they just push forward by their parents.
Well, and in so many other ways, though, she's kind of right. She's a canary in the coal mine. We're not doing anything. The point of no return is very visible now scientifically. We have 5 years, we have 10 years, and if we don't start today, even just lowering the emission standards, which I mean, U.S. left the Paris Climate Accord. U.S. isn't trying anything. None of this is, you know. We have to start in the past to get there in the future.
Thomas, what do you mean you have to shut down your miners?
We're going to have to pollute less. It's a horror.
I don't have any children. It's the greenest decision I've made. You know, I live in a green state, a good state. So I don't have any children. So I think that's I have enough green
So far.
so far. Yeah,
I mean,
And adoption could happen. So let's
I
not
agree.
give up.
The thing is, though, with this, the energy sort of issue is where do you draw the line on what, and this is what I think the argument against Bitcoin mining is, where do you draw the line of what people should and shouldn't be allowed to do? So Bitcoin mining uses apparently roughly the same as the PlayStation and Xboxes on 4 hours a day
Oh,
for a
really?
year. Yeah. So that was some CoinShares report about if you were to match it, or Christmas tree lights in
Christmas
just one
lights, yeah.
season.
Oh, wow.
So are we, what point do you say, oh, we shouldn't do that because it's wasting electricity? You shouldn't have lights. You shouldn't have entertainment systems. You shouldn't have giant TVs.
I think if everybody that gets rid of their TVs and their entertainment systems, can will run mine. And I think there's a big incentive for miners to keep electricity costs low, and we all know that green energy nowadays is cheaper than energy from coal or so.
Well, then that's where the shifts need to be made at a government level, at a direction level. Sure, if you
no, we need no government.
but if we want unfortunately for the climate change, it's global world issue. It's all those things. It's a larger level where if we in the next 5 years, if we build 5 coal plants, or in the next 5 years, if we build 5 solar plants or windmills or maybe even nuclear energy, I'm willing to say it. But these kind of things, I mean, it's a larger level. I, as a normal person, can't say build the nukes or build the coal. I don't have that level. Whereas if I buy a PS2 or I don't buy one, it's not going to have the same effect. It's a larger level.
Yeah.
There it is.
Otherwise, we just go to Mars, no?
Yeah.
We're going to the moon first. So that's
problem with living on Mars is that if Elon decides you shouldn't have any more air, you don't get any more air. There is no law on Mars. Yeah. Cohagen, give us the air.
You make me wish I had 3 hands.
Best, man.
It's funny.
Great.
Such a good movie. Yeah.
So you're going to go to party tonight?
I'm pretty tired now. I want to go to dinner. I have a dream of food. I heard about lunch, but I never materialized.
I had this drink. It's like a powdery steak in a meal in a bottle. I think in US it's called Soylent, right?
Yeah.
This stuff is fantastic. It saves me a dinner in 30 seconds. And if I mix it with my coffee, I save even more time. So this is how
I love the idea of it, but I can't get into it yet. I would like to see the food in a pill or whatever. I think that's a good idea, but still, I like a natural, real food. But
oh no, I wouldn't mind eating like fake meat if it was good enough.
Did you try those Impossible Burgers?
I really want to. I haven't yet. They have it at Burger King now. It's everywhere. Yeah,
they don't even allow us to sell the stuff here.
Right.
But if you try first in the US, then people.
Then you would bring it back anyway.
Yeah, we can try it here.
Yeah.
It's doing really well. They're up. The stocks. The only thing that's up more than Bitcoin is those fake meat stocks.
Really?
They're up 3,000%. They're incredible investments, at least.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the meat is.
I've never been good at stocks. And actually, I've never ever made a good investment in my life.
Yeah, likewise.
I just got lucky with Bitcoin. I did because I didn't consider it an investment. So, but it's a bit scary to see that we're probably right now we won't even be able to feed the whole planet. So this is why I try this mana too. If we could end hunger by going on these powdered foods.
Yeah.
If everybody goes on powdered foods, we can have the steaks and the lobsters that remain. So yeah.
Everybody but me. Everybody but me. That's always the hard part of it. But no, I think we talked too much about food. I think we got to end the live stream and have dinner.
Exactly. Okay.
But Martin, people can check out General Bytes. Where can they learn more about it? Can they buy ATMs?
And do check out if you're not into ATMs, you're just a hodler, trader, or otherwise want to do some asset management. Check out everytrade.io. There's a beta, so there'll be dragons, but you sign up. I think there's only a free trial for people watching the World Crypto Network. So they're not free trial, free package. So just sign up. It's only for the World Crypto Network viewers. So Yes.
Nice.
And keep an eye out for those General Bytes ATMs. You see them all over. They have a neon ring around them.
All
You
over the
can
world.
buy
Yep.
Bitcoin
That's
from them.
right.
You can sell Bitcoin sometimes, depending on the local rules
You
and
can
those
open
kind
the
of
lightning
things.
channels.
Lightning
Yep.
channels. We've got the Red Bull machine upstairs. It's got a really great view screen on it. And it's super exciting that Red Bull worked with you this time. Last time,
Yes.
you're just doing it on your own.
Yeah,
But now,
I
you know,
think
we're
that it's just amazing that they're like the attitude changed, and that they were not only willing to give us a machine, but even pay for implementing it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's might be, you know, maybe the big change.
I
Maybe
think
we'll all
it's
be paying for Red Bulls globally with Bitcoin very soon.
and
That
then
would
yeah,
be nice.
Coca-Cola, and then Pepsi, and then cigarettes, and then
Cigarettes.
chips and snacks and everything. I mean, I do think
Anything
vending
from the
machines
Silk
are right
Road.
there.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
another one where we've wanted this for a long time, and we were early to it, and there were samples and prototypes, and Bitcoin costs money to send, and Lightning is cheaper, and these kind of things. All this had to happen so that maybe we could just, you know, buy a damn Coke from my phone with Bitcoin. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now let's get some food, guys.
yeah, let's go do it.
We're signing off.
Right.
Thank you
All
for
right,
watching.
we'll see you guys
Bye.
tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye bye.